This kid was a total nobody at school, but then he took down the strongest girl in school. Celia was gorgeous, popular, packed with raw, overwhelming power. She had farmed more aura than anyone, yet Ian dropped her with one cold glance. Everyone froze in pure disbelief. Celia sank to her knees trembling. Who on earth is this guy? How did he get so strong? Seriously, everyone is losing their minds. No one knew the real truth. 7 days ago, back when Ian was still a complete zero, he suddenly lost consciousness and completely blacked out. For 7 straight days, during that week, he shed his weakness and became the most brutal fighter in school, even taking down high-level monsters. His eyes remained cold and merciless, but waking up a week later, he remembered absolutely nothing. Nursing a massive headache, the guy assumes that blackout was just from heavy drinking the night before, but on his desk, he finds some strange papers he never left behind. Ian notices the calendar date is totally wrong, off by a week, and wonders how that envelope got there. Walking over, he picks up the mysterious sealed letter, staring at an unfamiliar crest. Breaking the seal, he finds pages of strange, confusing writing. Was it the same person who changed his calendar? He notices the handwriting has a very elegant, feminine look. Ian wonders if some girl at the academy has a secret crush on him. Thinking back to his classmates, determined to read this mystery note, even if he ends up late for class, he finds some weird story about a childhood pact and names in a book. Sitting down, he scans the lovely handwriting and spots words like bride, hunting festival, beasts in school classes. Hoping it is some weird love confession, the message ends by saying that the writer, Sophia, would dream of him, dated in the year 571 of the imperial calendar. Having finished reading, Ian thinks he is being played. The date is totally off, making this look like some lazy prank. The note also holds a weird warning about the world ending unless they protect the future. The boy crumples the paper, remembers his urgent class, and tosses the note away, wondering who on earth would write him a love letter. On his walk to class through the sunny academy courtyard, our protagonist notices everyone whispering and calling him a total psycho. Ian spots the sheer fear in their eyes, then spots a strange axe on his waist. What on earth is happening? When he spots Leto and Selene, he shouts their names, but the two pretend he does not exist, desperately talking about the weather to ignore him. Selene quickly agrees with Leto, muttering that she refuses to get dragged into any more dangerous places. Ian grabs his friend, forcing Leto to stare at him from different angles, noticing a massive shift in his vibe since yesterday. Suddenly, Leto hugs him tight and yells that his best buddy is finally free from a demonic possession. Trying to push him off, Ian demands an explanation, only to get a wild story about being possessed by something for the entire week. Our hero explains his last memory was just saying goodbye to them last night, leaving Selene completely shocked. Leto reveals that over the past week, Ian was treating them like complete garbage, ruining their social standing, and they only avoided calling an exorcist because he threatened them with his axe. Ian can only ask. Seeing them stare at the demonic axe, Selene quickly tells him to hide it away. The weapon brings back terrifying memories, leaving Leto trembling in fear. Confused, Ian desperately tries to remember if he actually was possessed. He never touched anything cursed unless his recent nightmare is connected. Leto and Selene are just glad that bizarre entity vanished in time. But when Ian asks what else happened, Selene drops a massive bombshell. He apparently took down Celia Yordina, the top second-year student. She is the school's youngest aura expert, a literal fighting monster. Hardly believing his own ears, Ian asks if he actually defeated her. Selene warns that he put her in the hospital for a full week. Ian shuddered, wondering what kind of nightmare spirit could pull that off. Worse yet, he is scheduled to fight her again this very afternoon. Since he lost a whole week of memories, Ian cannot recall their brutal clash. Back then, the proud Celia was left crawling on the dirt, defeated. Normally, Ian would not even last 10 seconds in a fight against her. But his possessed self mocked her mediocre sword skills and struck. A heavy punch to her face sent the young prodigy flying backward. He did not stop there, striking her spine at blinding speeds. Spectators watched in utter shock as the school star was completely broken. The possessed Ian walked over, calling her foolish for falling into his traps. Now Ian desperately wishes he could face a completely different opponent today. He needs someone he can actually beat. Selene gently advises him to forfeit. But his friends know Celia's crushed pride means she will want absolute revenge. Before they can plan, an instructor with heavily scarred arms calls their names. He loudly announces the start of the graded match to the crowd. Ian silently curses the evil spirit for leaving behind such a mess. He cannot afford to fail this grade, so he makes a plan. All he has to do is survive for 10 minutes without dying. But before he can even breathe, Celia is right in front of him. 10 minutes, not even close. He is blasted right out of the arena instantly. As he falls, Ian realizes his peaceful defensive plan is entirely ruined. He might actually spend a full week in a hospital bed now. There is absolutely no way out. He has to stand and fight. Ian slowly gets back on his feet, declaring that it is his turn. Celia invites his best shot, so he readies his blade and charges. Somehow his body feels incredibly light as he leaps high into the air. As he swings, his physical movements align perfectly with his focus. Celia smiles, clearly enjoying this sudden burst of fierce competition. She effortlessly dodges his strike, disarms him, and drives her fist home. Down on his knees, Ian realizes escape was just a complete illusion. Celia stands over him, demanding to know what he is planning next. She asks if he left an opening on purpose to lure her. She is still deeply haunted by her humiliating defeat from last week. Ian completely snaps, begging her to stop bringing up that cursed day already. Celia glares back, demanding to know who made her the school laughingstock. She leaps forward, drawing her blade and letting her aura explode. Refined reflexes, Ian realizes his vision has actually sharpened quite a bit. He truly believes he can match his opponent now, but she is far too fast. Celia spins midair and completely slips past his guard, hitting him head-on with brutal force. He crashes back several meters, proving he is still nowhere near her level of strength. Ian scrambles up fast, but she immediately rushes in to keep him off balance. He has to guess, left, right, below. He simply cannot read her angle. Wrong guess, he takes a direct, painful hit right to the ribs. Assuming the next attack must come from the front, he prepares to block her next rush. No pause, just a relentless onslaught that does not give him room to breathe. Pure agony, yet Ian knows he must endure this to appease her. Tightening his grip, the young man wonders why she uses so many completely wasted, flashy movements. Celia repeats her warning, never rush in just because you spot an apparent opening. A total trap, the warning immediately grabs the young man's attention. She reminds him those were his exact words, which is why she demanded this rematch. Right now, though, she thinks his performance is downright pathetic. He is completely different from the fierce opponent she fought just last week. She lunges, screaming at him to finally fight her for real. It clicks, he is not the only one who has grown stronger lately. Taking his past advice, Celia has added these clever flourishes to bait his guard. The pressure builds, yet Ian somehow begins reading her strikes much better. She grows furious. Raising her blade, she prepares to shatter his guard. He is barely holding on. Matching her pace is exhausting, and he desperately wants to just give up. But Celia draws her sword again, shouting that he is finally showing some real effort. She promises to show him her true power as she leaps forward once more. Ian watches calmly, analyzing her guard. Crack, a sharp sound echoes. If he is not up in 5 seconds, he loses. The victory goes to the girl, and the instructor begins counting him out. Lying there, he thinks this possession and duel are the most unbelievable things ever. He only wanted to clear this mess and return to his normal life. Flat on his back, he feels like he tried everything to solve this craziness. The countdown hits 2, and she asks if he threw the match on purpose. Celia demands to know if he fell on purpose, shouting her warning at 3. If he gives up now, she will simply demand a rematch every single day. She will hound him through classes and campus until he is completely humiliated. That threat works. Furious, the young man pushes himself back onto his feet. Having to deal with a grudge he cannot even remember is incredibly annoying. He is treated like a sworn enemy over some week-old drama. The instructor asks if he wants to forfeit, but Ian refuses to quit. Sighing, the teacher calls for the match to resume and tells them to get ready. Celia smiles and takes her stance, glad that the fight is not over yet. Ian concludes there is simply no running away from this crazy situation anymore. If she wants a real fight, he is going to tear her pride to shreds. Celia charges ahead with the exact same tactic, but this time everything is different. Ian waits for her to get close. Suddenly, his hand is already right in front of her. he actually catches Celia's sword with one bare hand, which is absolutely insane. The boy steps inside her guard, shoving the weapon away. From above, he caught her. Panting hard, Ian remembers the promise he made to himself when he stood back up. He is exhausted, but his mind is incredibly sharp. He tracks Celia's every single movement as they face off across the arena. He knows he can dodge her now, he just needs to stay focused, waiting. For her first move, he considers baiting her to crush her arrogant pride for good. Then she leaps. With newly cleared vision, Ian easily tracks her entire trajectory and predicts exactly where the strike will land, no sweat. He catches Celia's sword as she swings with everything she has, throwing the blade aside, completely disarming her. Without wasting a beat, Ian draws his own weapon, warning her that it is over, knowing she lost. Celia covers her face, bracing herself for another long week in the hospital. Ian hesitates. She looks so incredibly small and utterly helpless right now. He holds back his final blow, wondering if he should even finish her. Why is he still dealing with last week's drama? It solves nothing and would probably just happen again. To him, winning was never the goal. But understanding the whole situation clearly is what matters. Slowly, he reaches out his hand toward her. With a gentle forehead poke, he ends the duel. Talk about an unexpected climax. Celia, totally stunned, asks what he is doing. And if he is just mocking her, Ian asks why she wanted to beat him so desperately. She screams back that winning is everything, and losing means you are garbage. Smiling, Ian asks if other people's opinions are really that important to her, reminding her that one defeat won't change the fact that she is a genius. Celia stammers, momentarily speechless, but softly insists she still wanted to win. Wanted to win. Ian agrees that being mocked hurts, but asks if losing sight of her actual purpose is not far worse than that. Celia nods. Ian laughs, mentioning he loses all the time, but even if people talk, she is still the most talented student of their generation. The girl finally calms down, admitting she learned a lot, and bows deeply. While Selene stares in absolute disbelief, the instructor steps up and excitedly announces Ian's victory. The crowd erupts, incredibly curious about this boy's massive strength. Watching him walk away, Celia decides to ignore the gossiping crowds and focus purely on her training. Walking away, Ian realizes things never go as planned. Seriously, his quiet school life is officially over. The students are already calling him a demon who almost destroyed Celia twice. They are utterly terrified. Ian knows he only won because she held back her true strength, but trying to explain that to anyone would be completely pointless. Still, his aura and mana detection have drastically improved, though in a real fight he would have easily lost. Just then, Selene approaches with Leto, asking if he wants to talk about last week's incident. Frustrated, Ian sighs and says yes, since he still has no idea why he was possessed. Selene smiles, saying the holy woman from the cathedral guaranteed he is perfectly fine. Laughing at Ian's silly worries, she points out he is incredibly famous now. This sudden spotlight annoys her. The other academy girls think he is handsome, but when Ian tries to play it down, Selene quickly changes the subject, saying that no one underestimates them anymore out of fear of getting crushed. She asks if the rumor is actually true. Ian asks which rumor she means. Leto mentions that Celia is following Ian everywhere. Is it true? In response, Ian tells them to look over. The three of them turn and see the girl hiding behind a tree, watching from afar with a useless mask that only covers part of her face. Selene asks why she is stalking him and threatens to beat Celia up again. To avoid a fight, Ian and Leto quickly step between them. Leto asks when this started. Ian says it has been about 5 days and the situation is annoying him. Then Leto holds Selene back, telling Ian to go solve the issue with her. As Ian approaches, Celia wonders what she should do to ask him a question. He calls out to her, asking what she wants to say since he noticed her stalking him all the time. She asks how he managed to see through her disguise. Seriously, she actually believed she was hidden. This makes Ian wonder if she really believed that. Celia says she is there to ask for guidance because she wants to get stronger. Ian notices she's being much more polite than last time. He avoids getting involved. He simply prefers a quiet, normal life, so he rejects her request. Ian wonders what he would even have to teach her since he is weaker than she is. Celia asks why he is refusing, arguing that he beat her in 2 duels. Ian explains he did not win because of strength, but because she let her guard down. He turns to leave, adding that he won by pure luck. Girl protests, claiming that luck is also a skill, and begs him to teach her. At least until the hunting festival. The mention of that festival makes Ian suddenly remember a mysterious letter about future incidents. The text reported that Emma, from the alchemy department, was attacked by a mysterious monster while she was looking for herbs in the forest. This memory leaves him lost in thought, and Celia agrees that he has no real reason to help her. Ian states that because of her, he just remembered something important and leaves, recommending that she look for Professor Derek if she wants to get stronger. Leto sees Ian walking away and asks if he resolved the situation, but his friend runs off without explaining. Ian does not fully believe the contents of the letter, but the names of his friends bother him, so he decides to investigate. When he arrives at the alchemy department, he finds a red-haired girl messing around with potions. Ian goes to meet her because he knows she has information. Later, Celia trains her swordsmanship, executing several movements. Professor Derek watches her and praises her performance, stating that she will be able to create a powerful aura before the hunting festival if she stays diligent. She thanks him, and Derek comments that he never imagined she would look to him for help. Celia explains that the training was Ian's advice, leaving the professor confused. Facing Derek's reaction, she decides to leave and states that he has nothing left to teach her. The professor thinks Celia has no social skills and is way too direct. As the student leaves, Derek calls her back to say there is no rush, reminding her that a former student only got second place in the hunting festival during his second year. The girl tries to protest. The instructor decides to give Celia a quick tip for her first event. She needs to learn the terrain, get familiar with the southern forest. Celia asks if the beasts are strong. Derek quickly shakes his head. They are only dangerous deep inside. Do not go there alone, he warns. The beast population in that region is suddenly spiking. It is not safe. Later, Emma tells Ian a story, an ancient tale about the creation. The light god Ars was born, the dark god Amalos rose too. Emma explains that the light god created the fundamental laws of time. He restricted time to protect it. Only one creature could defy it. That being is named Delholm. Ian hears this and scratches his head. He honestly understood absolutely nothing. Emma sighs deeply at his blank stare. He literally broke her door down after a month of total silence. Just to hear this myth, she tells him he needs common sense. Ian begs for some slack since they are close friends, but Emma completely disagrees. You only show up when you need favors, she says, explained simpler. She sighs and breaks it down. Defying time requires immense power. Specifically the servant Delholm. Ian asks if his strange letters came from this mythic being. Emma laughs. Legends do not write letters, Ian. It is impossible, so he suggests the evil god was behind it. Emma dismisses the god theory completely and tells him to get out. Ian mutters that future letters are crazy, but she has a gift. Before he leaves, Emma hands him a special potion to test out. He asks if he will turn invisible. No, it only conceals. It erases his physical presence. Ian pops the cork and chugs it. Terrible taste, he complains immediately. Emma scolds him for wasting the potion. It is incredibly valuable. Ian shrugs. He just wanted to test it. Close your eyes, he says. Let me try and hide now. Emma shuts her eyes. The more tests they do, the better. She tries to sense him. Suddenly, strange smoke rises from his feet. Ian feels his aura vanish completely. He is totally hidden from view. This trick will give him a massive edge during the upcoming festival. He starts teasing her while her eyes are shut. Absolute rookie mistake. Suddenly, Emma grabs his shirt. He yells, "How did she find him?" She slams him down, saying she did not even try. Ian asks what she means. Emma answers that it is his smell. Even with zero magical aura, his physical body is still standing there. She can easily track him because everyone has a highly unique scent. Ian nods, wishing her luck. Why worry about someone this insanely strong? He decides to test the other vial deep inside the forest. He promises to report the results back to her. Safety first, though. Ian warns Emma to stay out of the woods during the festival. The monsters are acting very strange. Call him if she needs help. She accepts and he agrees to assist since he is free anyway. As he steps outside, the sun slowly dips below the horizon. Ian looks down. He holds another mysterious letter from the future. Ian tosses it in the trash with the other letters, wondering who is sending them. Later, he lies in bed, completely sure Emma will be fine thanks to his warning. But then Leto bursts in, shouting and demanding to know where his friend vanished to. He left without saying a single word to him or Selin. Ian steps in, cutting him off to explain he just had to calm Emma down. He yells that Leto's stupid joke letters made the girl laugh at him. Leto has no idea what he means, so Ian decides to drop it. He tells him to stop playing around, but Leto just asks how Emma is doing. Ian says she is fine. Sadly, the truth is much worse. And get this, the fourth part of that future letter reads like a complaining girlfriend. She's upset about not getting a reply, but the next day at school, light magic is cast over a completely unconscious Emma at the cathedral. The Holy Kingdom saint greets Leto and Ian while they stand there in prayer. She reveals that the poor girl was found deep within the dangerous forest. A monster attacked her, which makes zero sense for this area. Emma only survived because she managed to use a death-feigning potion in time. Ian begs the saint to use her legendary divine power to save her. But she admits she is not all-powerful. Real miracles require a cost. Specifically, she needs a highly valuable offering to make it work. Ian points out that an herbalist's daughter has no such wealth. The saint explains it does not have to be about gold or money. It just needs to be incredibly rare to carry the same spiritual weight. Prepare for the worst, she warns. Ian is completely devastated. Her father is coming, and explaining this horror will be incredibly difficult. Ian takes responsibility, saying he should speak to him as the last contact. The saint gently assures him that this tragedy is not his fault. He should not carry this heavy burden alone. She casts a soothing light spell. It is meant to calm his mind. Meanwhile, Leto is absolutely furious. He rages about how such a beast could possibly be at the forest entrance. Without that monster, Emma would have made it back perfectly fine. Before Ian can even respond, a heartbreaking cry echoes through the cathedral halls. Emma's father bursts in, completely broken at the sight of his daughter. As the poor man weeps, Ian can only stand there in silent, heavy shock. He approaches and the weeping father looks up, asking if Ian knew his girl. Through his tears, he begs for any way to save his beloved daughter. Ian has to tell him the truth. Nothing can be done right now. As low-ranking nobles, they have no power. The priests are doing their best. Then Ian remembers the special potion he received from her yesterday. He hands it over, telling the father it was his daughter's amazing creation. But the father refuses, calling him young master and weeping. He wants Ian to keep the potion as a memory of her. The desperate man grabs Ian's shoulders, dropping directly to his knees. He begs him to never forget Emma. Honestly, my heart is breaking for this family. Ian starts to wonder if he truly could have changed this tragic outcome. If only he had taken that future letter seriously and stopped her. Standing in the forest, Ian is not sure if that letter really came from the future. But he cannot just ignore those warnings anymore. His only real option now is to track down Sepia and uncover the truth, stopping those dark events from happening. Later on, Leto hears the name Sepia and immediately shouts, asking if Ian got a new girlfriend or got scammed. Annoyed, Ian slaps a hand right over his friend's mouth to shut him up, insisting there is zero romance involved. He just needs to find who wrote that letter. Leto asks about the academy records, but Ian admits they were a dead end. His friend suggests the name is probably fake and starts teasing him again, but after getting a quick punch to the face, Leto promises to behave and mentions sepia is actually a flower. Ian nods, noting that since it is a very common plant in the north belonging to the Yordina family, the name is probably just a fake alias. Leto offers to check out the region but warns that if this really involves a northern noble, he can only think of one specific suspect. Looking aside, Leto warns that their fan is nearby as Celia watches them from a distance. Ian wonders about her too, while Leto cannot understand why a girl from that family would send letters using an alias. Instead of just talking to him directly, right then, Celia walks up to them, holding a small pouch to thank Ian for his lessons. Inside the bag is a huge stack of gold, but Ian immediately turns it down. Celia says she felt rude, asking for training without giving anything back, but the young man disagrees and asks why she wants his lessons so badly. She quietly replies that nobody else in the entire academy has anything to teach her. Ian points out she is being blunt without even realizing it, but Celia argues you learn best from the one who actually beat you. Ian tells her she will do fine. She does not even need him, but Celia cuts him off, saying if she misses this upcoming hunting festival, she loses her last shot. Ian instantly remembers the letter. Plays Sepia at that exact festival, while she keeps talking about. Growing stronger, the young man places a hand on her shoulder and invites her to train together. He needs to see if she is actually Sepia, and daily practice is his best bet. Soon, he discovers Celia has absolutely zero social skills and completely struggles to talk to people, earning her the nickname of the rude Yordina, even though she does not mean any harm. On top of that, she has no concept of resting and just chugs healing potions to train non-stop. Ian walks over, grabs her injured leg, and warns that potions heal wounds but do not cure physical exhaustion. While carefully bandaging her up, he asks why this festival is her absolute last shot. Celia explains that she must defeat a fourth-year student before her own graduation. Ian suggests just fighting them later on, but Celia answers that she would be instantly exiled if she challenged the head family later. Her target is Celia Yordina, the strongest fourth-year student, and her half-sister who will inherit the entire family after graduation. That makes the academy the only safe battleground where a branch family can challenge the main house. After another letter arrives, Celia is seen bruised on the ground, thinking that changing duel rules mid-fight is entirely unfair. Celia mocks her courage to face. Her pure determination is quite commendable, but she lacks the ability to gather allies. Celia believes that everyone supports her sister. She feels completely isolated, deeply wishing for just one ally, back in the present. Ian carefully finishes wrapping her fresh bandages and tells her she can move now. Celia realizes he would make a fantastic ally and starts plotting her next move. She prepares to ask. Meanwhile, Emperor Adelis addresses the cheering academy crowd. The long-awaited hunting festival is officially starting, fueling a fierce competition. Students must track down the strongest magical beasts in the southern woods. Ian keeps a close eye on both Celia and Sepia during this event. He is determined to uncover the truth hidden beneath their polite smiles. Suddenly, Selene steps up behind him and suggests they team up. Ian asks why she is in such a hurry, prompting her to ask if he is some kind of idiot. Surprised, he asks why. She said that, and she points out that nobody trains with their recent victor. Ian defends himself, saying they already made peace, but Selene is not buying it. She argues that the girl literally stalked him for days after their match. He explains she stopped following him and only wanted to ask a simple question. Selene asks why he is defending her, when Ian suddenly grabs her cheeks. He stares directly into her eyes, leaning in close while she stammers in surprise. He softly asks if she changed her perfume, leaving her completely stunned. She mutters about her face cream, talk about a smooth distraction play. Selene asks what training they have today, and he guesses it is forest survival. She silently hopes they do not cross paths with any dangerous beasts. But the secret warning letter Ian received predicted a major monster ambush. He holds this sole truth, carrying the heavy burden of keeping everyone safe. To save innocent lives, he must predict every tragic outcome. Later in class, the instructor demands absolute attention from the students. He reminds them that a student was recently attacked near the main gates. It is a clear warning that everyone needs to be on high alert. He explains that fighting in dense woods requires constant awareness of your surroundings. Glancing to the side, Ian notices Celia sitting quietly in her seat. He notes that wild beasts naturally hold the upper hand in these woods. Professor Derek explains things would be simpler if they could use high-level aura. He demonstrates a massive sword strike that instantly shatters the stone nearby. Still, they cannot ignore the natural obstacles around them. A single mistake here quickly decides life or death. Therefore, maintaining proper distance is absolutely essential for survival. To practice this, they will head into the woods in assigned pairs. Ian keeps thinking about the warning letter, knowing a squad is safer. Working together would definitely make dealing with the beast threat much easier. But trying to rally everyone right now would make him look completely crazy. His best bet is to alert the staff and partner up immediately. He needs a reliable partner. Right on cue, Selene steps forward. She expects them to partner up, but Ian shows absolutely zero interest in her. Instead, he reaches out, grabs Celia by the shoulder, and asks her. Selene stands frozen, completely replaced in a split second as they head out. They trek deeper into the forest, but still find absolutely no sign of magical beasts. As they walk, Ian finds this emptiness strange, and Celia completely agrees. She hasn't sensed a single monster nearby, and he highly trusts her detection skills. But doubt still eats at him, so he suggests they take a quick rest. They keep their guard up as the sun sets, waiting for something to happen. Finally, Celia gathers the courage to ask why he even chose her for this. Ian simply answers that they are friends, wondering if she feels the same way. Thinking about how he did her a huge favor by becoming her friend, Celia hesitates. She asks if she should pay him back with money, but Ian stops her. That would make this a transaction, he explains, not a real friendship. True friends talk, walk side by side, and share their lives together. Just spending time like this is enough. Then, Celia asks a rather blunt question. She wants to know if he is doing all of this for Emma's sake. Did they march this deep into the dark woods because Emma was attacked? Is he actually hunting for revenge against the beast? Ian remains quiet. He says he is not sure, but as she pushes, his voice rises. He snaps that he already gave his answer. It is not about revenge. He is just here to find the beasts, but Celia questions his motives again. Ian counters that his reaction is completely natural, asking what she would do. Without hesitation, she replies that she would destroy the magic beast immediately. Ian nods, admitting that is exactly how he feels, leaving Celia to wonder. Is this what friendship truly means? Still, Ian warns her to stay smart. He will not blindly rush in without making sure they are safe first. Suddenly, a strange sound catches his attention. He tells Celia to quiet down and focus, asking if she can feel it too. She feels it. A massive, strange presence is rapidly closing in. Dozens of glowing purple eyes light up the pitch-black forest around them. The other students are in grave danger. Meanwhile, the dark threat advances. Ian and Celia stand frozen, staring at the insane horde of beasts ahead. Celia grips the hilt of her sword, asking if they should attack. Ian refuses, saying they must retreat and warn Derek right away. Fighting them is suicide. He asks if she is ready to bolt. The moment she nods, Ian yells to run, and they take off. Ian is quickly out of breath, but there is no time to stop. The beasts are hot on their heels, but they still have a lead. If they can maintain this speed and alert Derek, they might survive. But his hopeful thoughts are instantly shattered by a sudden, piercing scream. Looking back, Ian gasps. Celia has collapsed on the dirt. She clutches her twisted ankle, crying out in intense pain. She claims she will be fine with a brace, but it looks bad. Go, she screams, save yourself and leave me behind. He stares back at the beasts. They are closing the gap fast. If they do not start running right now, they are both finished. Ian makes a wild decision, firmly telling Celia to run on ahead without him. She looks up in shock, asking if he plans to fight them alone. He shouldn't say those things to her friends. Then he charges toward the magic beast while Celia screams his name. Ian can no longer hear her in the silent forest. He finds it strange that the local animals sense the predators' presence and hid. Stopping his run, he decides there is no need to face the beast head on and prepares an ambush. Ian pulls out a potion vial to hide his presence and decides to test it. Slamming the vial onto the ground, Ian mutters that the taste is still just as horrible as the first time he drank it, as long as the effect lasts, he can deal with the monsters before being noticed. Remembering the detail about the smell, he dirties his own clothes to disguise himself better and climbs a nearby tree, getting out of the monster's line of sight. Under the orange sky, Ian waits quietly, wishing the monsters would hurry up so he can get this over with. A paw wrapped in black, lightning-like energy appears. The magic beast arrives, showing off its gray fur, pitch black eyes, massive fangs, and a body larger than an adult. It exudes an insane amount of magic energy. That is definitely a demonic beast. The monster heads in Ian's direction, but it seems confused since the scent it was tracking suddenly vanished. With a leap, Ian draws his sword and charges at the creature to launch his ambush. The monster looks to the side, seemingly finally spotting the boy. Ian strikes the monster's head with his sword, but his aura does not pierce the creature. He uses his own weight to force the blow, shouting for the target to go down until he finally manages to bring it down. The first enemy is defeated, but Ian wonders how many are left, knowing he cannot fail and put Celia in danger. He hides again, planning to finish them all off right there, but wait, from a distance, he sees other beasts approaching his hiding spot. He finds it strange that they are not in a pack, thinking their demonic nature might have changed their behavior. At least 5 camouflaged Targets are looking for him, and Ian knows he needs to eliminate them all. Before they call the rest of the pack, quickly, he begins to attack silently. His strikes growing stronger as he takes the creatures down. One of the wolves manages to bite the arm Ian uses to hold his sword, to avoid screaming and, drawing attention, he uses his other hand to swing his hatchet, bringing the weapon down on the monster's head with all his strength, causing massive damage. Several enemies fall dead, and the smell of blood is bound to attract the rest. Ian concludes his hatchet is incredibly useful and notices his senses. In reaction time are much sharper. He realizes the possession made him much better, feeling like he can defeat any number of monsters ahead. Elsewhere, Celia steps on a sword lying on the ground, annoyed that Ian paired up with Celia. While she thinks the two are on a date, Celia appears right behind her. Calling out for Professor Derek, the man walks over to his student, who is still limping, and asks what happened. Out of breath, the girl reports the presence of magic beasts in the forest and explains that Ian stayed behind to protect her. Derek understands the situation, tells her to wait there and runs into the trees, promising out loud that he will save the boy. Tired and hurt, Celia falls to the ground, only wishing for Ian to return safely. At that moment, a portion of the love letter to the protagonist is revealed, detailing how they grew closer. Back in the dark forest, wolves lie dead still. More keep coming. Another giant beast approaches the pile. He fell right into Ian's trap. Seizing the opening, the boy leaps out from the carnage and drives his sword into its neck. Another one down, but Ian is exhausted. Suddenly, a howling echo fills the air, forcing him to complain about the never-ending waves. 2 wolves spring out, ready to strike. His sword remains stuck inside his last victim as the pair charges, leaving zero time to rest. Raising a small hatchet, Ian readies himself and dares them to come get slaughtered. These beasts are far more dangerous than normal wolves because they use magic, but their patterns are simple. He assumed it would be much harder to handle multiple enemies at once, but he realizes he can win this. He channels intense, crackling lightning power right through his weapons to cut down the monsters, landing massive, high-damage strikes that connect right as he zips past them. Ian was completely wiping out everything ahead with sheer strength, but his legs begin to give out. Fatigue forces his weapon down until he spots another predator watching impatiently. Annoyed, Ian mutters that is a pretty clever strategy and lines heavily against a tree. With no reason to rush, he wonders if the wolf set a trap waiting for him to slip up. Suddenly, a strange scent catches his attention. Recognizing the smell of Emma's blood, he charges, fueled by pure rage, but a second later, he realizes it is not blood, rather a specialized potion from her lab. This was the beast that hurt Emma. Ian grips his sword tightly, aiming it at the monster as he spots a piece of her clothes caught in its teeth, vowing to kill it. Right here, the beast seems to love this, opening its mouth and tossing the fabric, which catches directly on Ian's sword. He realizes he's being mocked. The monster slowly circles him, wanting payback for its slaughtered pack. Realizing this is no ordinary magical beast, Ian knows that a single mistake will mean his end, so he has to test its strength first. Instantly, the wolf lunges with its massive jaws wide open to crush him, but the boy barely manages to dodge at the absolute last second. He is still sent crashing into a tree, taking critical damage. Honestly, this beast is too fast, closing in to finish him off. Acting instantly, Ian throws his sword, letting it shine with a vibrant red aura straight at the target. The wolf tries to bite the blade, but it fails, slicing its mouth open and making it howl. Exploiting the opening, the boy charges forward and delivers a brutal strike, with his hatchet burying it right between its eyes. Despite the direct impact, he still needs pure brute force to finish the cut. The creature uses its massive paw to knock the axe away and leaps back. To regroup, annoyed, Ian mutters that he should sell this monster to some local circus. Looking closely, he notices the shattered condition of the beast's teeth, preventing any biting attacks, though it still has plenty of other dangerous weapons. Exhausted, Ian doubts his ability to survive. He must dodge if the beast uses that speed again, barely evading a stealthy claw. The swipe comes almost too late. Running on empty and completely exhausted, he sees the beast deliberately dragging out the fight. He realizes he needs a new plan because there is no other choice. Suddenly, the wolf launches an attack, hitting the boy dead on and slamming him against a tree. Ian crashes to the ground, Completely motionless, the animal creeps closer, using a paw to test if he still moves. Meanwhile, a torn letter reveals the magic beast attack was actually the fault of Dean Delore, back in the woods with no immediate attack. Ian opens his eyes, he glares at the monster and slowly reaches for his axe. Remembering how this beast hurt Emma for fun, the boy struggles to his knees as blood pools on the dirt. He grips his sword, pointing it upward with both hands, catching the monster with its guard down. He stabs it deep in the guts. Ian thinks it is finally over, but things are never that simple. The wolf actually begins to speak, amused that Ian gladly tried to rip its belly open. It mocks him, claiming the boy did not realize he fell straight into a trap. Even so, Ian drives the strike home, ending this fight for good. Under the dim forest sun, the boy whispers a warning. Finish your victims instead of playing with them. The monster's own arrogance was its ultimate ruin. Ian raises his heavy sword one last time, commanding the creature to remember who executed it. Unleashing fierce lightning magic and whispering Emma's name, he vaporizes the monster, sealing his revenge. Elsewhere, as dusk falls, Derrick keeps searching for Ian, deeply worried about his condition. Suddenly, a massive explosion catches the teacher's attention, and he rushes to investigate, sensing the nearby presence of two powerful beings. Derrick figures it must be Ian and the magic beast. Right then, Selene catches up to him, desperately asking if he found the boy. Derrick admits he has not, looking silently toward the smoke when she asks where Ian is. He tells her they will find out soon enough as they quicken their pace. Up ahead, the entire group stops dead in their tracks. They spot Ian, sitting completely exhausted and leaning back against the massive corpse of the giant gray wolf. Selene sprints toward him as he chuckles and jokes that they are late. She bursts into tears while the others stare, shocked. Ian tries to speak the teacher's name, but his vision begins to fail and he completely passes out. Sometime later, Ian wakes up inside a quiet infirmary bed. The saint explains that Derrick carried him back. It will take some time to recover fully, though he was incredibly lucky to escape with only minor injuries. His reckless gamble worked. He avenged Emma, even if it does not wake her from that deep coma. Luckily, the professor notes the beast was still young, allowing Ian to win. Suddenly, Leto struts in, looking highly annoyed. He complains that Ian risked his life just to show off in front of a girl. Ian shrugs. While Leto asks if he used Emma's special potion, Ian confirms that the potion was indeed the only reason he survived. Leto snaps back, pointing out that he could have given it to Celia so they both could escape safely. Plus, Leto adds, Celia has been worried sick, waiting at the temple every single day just to see him. This news does not make Ian very happy. The girl preferred visiting multiple times a day instead of just walking inside to talk to him directly. Suddenly, someone shouts Ian's name and runs straight toward his bed. With a flying leap, Selene hugs him, thrilled he is finally awake. She ignores Leto completely. Her focus is solely on her friend and bites Ian's hand, demanding to know what they were discussing. Leto quickly changes the subject and mentions Ian missed out on a reward of 70 gold pieces for defeating the monster. This gets Selene hyper, while a pained Ian protests he had no idea about the money. Then Selene tightly links fingers with Ian, squeezing hard hands. She asks where they are going to eat. Ian yells in pain, complaining that she hurt him. Selene completely ignores his cries, suggesting a dragon meat restaurant. Annoyed by his whining, she calms down instantly when Ian assures her he is not mad. Sobbing, Selene hugs him tight, whispering she thought he would die, which softens his heart. Ian gently replies that he is not easily defeated. He pats her head, thinking she smells really nice. Annoyed, Selene demands to know why he always risks his life for Celia, admitting she hates it. He explains that he simply cannot let someone he knows face danger alone. Unassisted, Selene snaps that is not the point, screaming that he is the most important person in her world since childhood. Absolutely nothing else even matters. Ian feels totally bewildered, thinking her intense worry is way too dramatic. Snuggling closer, Selene begs him to take care of himself, leaving Ian to conclude she is still in shock from everything. Selene gently places her hand over his and then resting it on his head, making him sweat nervously. Leaning in close, she tells him to stay absolutely still, just as Leto walks in and catches them. With Leto's sudden noise, Selene leaps off the bed, screaming in surprise. Leto awkwardly apologizes for interrupting, but reminds them he is right there, relieving Ian always saw Selene as a sister, so this is way too overwhelming. Furious and embarrassed, Selene yells at him to forget everything before storming out. Pointing a finger at Ian, Leto warns that if he plans to pursue Celia, he must watch out for Selene too, showing Ian how messy this is getting. Talk about messy. Nearby, nasty whispers follow Celia as she walks past, calling her rude and criticizing her for running away from the magic beasts. She desperately tries to ignore them, but the cold glares sting, and she actually starts believing the toxic gossip. Celia blames herself entirely. Ian never should have fought, she remembers. Took her place begging his friends to keep it a secret, she also recalls. The horrific day Dererick arrived with Ian on his back, screaming for an emergency operation at the temple. Celia feels incredibly guilty that Ian nearly died for her and wonders why he risked his life. She has no answer. Not yet, but now she understands. Just then, Ian appears, asking if she was meditating, immediately inviting her to grab a bite. Celia realizes he is the only person she feels completely comfortable with, even when he acts rough or grumbles around her. She notices that Ian never matched her coldness, fully accepting her for exactly who she is, realizing she never wants to lose him. Suddenly, she finally understands a bit. He faced those beasts for her, just as she refuses to lose him. He refused to lose her, because true friends protect each other. Right after, they enter the temple and head up. Seeing Ian on his stretcher, Celia suddenly remembers he was her very first friend. He smiles and greets her. She immediately asks if he is doing all right. Pain is mostly gone. Hearing this brings her a wave of relief. He jokes his head only hurts from studying the books Leto brought him. Clutching a small bag, Celia nervously asks if he is still angry with her. He knows she is still feeling incredibly guilty about their dangerous forest encounter. But he promises he holds no grudge, absolutely none at all. He saved her simply because they are friends, not for some reward. He teases, asking if she brought that heavy bag to pay him back. She flushes, explaining the professor sent this reward for defeating those magic beasts. But when Ian opens the bag, he realizes the amount is ridiculously high. He asks if she added extra gold, which she desperately tries to deny. Refusing the reward, he tells her that her life is far more valuable. Suddenly, Celine bursts in with a cheerful greeting, completely ruining their quiet moment. Glaring at Celia, Celine roughly shoves past her and ignores her completely. She sweet-talks Ian instead, leaving him totally shocked by her rude behavior. Celia quietly excuses herself to go train, clutching her bruised arm as she leaves. Celine actually calls Celia rude and blames her for Ian being in the clinic. He calls her out on it, but she quickly changes the subject. She starts happily planning where they should eat once he gets discharged. Listening to her, Ian remembers Leto warning him about how complicated girls are. He tries to bring up her rudeness again, but she completely ignores him. Instead, she just keeps blabbering about their lunch plans. As Celia leaves the hospital looking devastated, trouble is already brewing for her. Nearby students notice her sad expression and immediately start whispering nasty rumors. They call her a spoiled disgrace for abandoning her friend during the attack. Some even suggest it is time to find a way to crush her. They start looking for any weakness they can exploit to ruin her life. Over by the fountain, Teen warns the group not to mess with the Yordinas. Just then, a mysterious stranger approaches with a highly suspicious smirk. Lupin demands to know her identity, telling her to mind her own business. But Teen calms him down, eager to hear what she knows about Celia. Pulling back her hood, the green-haired girl whispers a secret about Celia's birth. She promises they will not have to fear any revenge from her family. Later inside the temple, Ian sits next to Emma's bed, filled with guilt. He wishes he had believed the warning letter to prevent this entire tragedy. Both brutal attacks have already played out exactly as the document predicted. It warns that even deadlier monsters will strike during the upcoming festival. To survive this next threat, Ian knows he absolutely needs the professor's backing. Suddenly, the Saintess calls out his name, asking if he was already discharged. He answers that he just wanted to check on Emma before leaving. The Saintess sighs, explaining that the girl remains in a deep, unconscious state. Waking her up requires an incredibly powerful artifact or immense holy energy. Remnants of rare, ancient magical beasts would work perfectly for this healing miracle. But such items are impossible to find, and her father cannot afford them. To get them, Ian silently clenches his fists and asks if a high-ranking magic beast is enough. Beast would be enough. The Saintess shakes her head while continuing her healing magic. She clarifies that an adult magic beast could work, and Ian quickly thanks her. Ian excuses himself as she reassures him that a miracle will heal the patient. They just have to take care of her. Leaving, Ian wonders if the target monster is strong enough. To get a beast that powerful, he realizes he needs Derek's help. Ian sprints across the academy grounds and bursts straight into the professor's office. He apologizes for barging in, but the busy professor does not even look up. Keeping his eyes on his papers, the professor asks what the issue is. Ian asks if Derek can handle beasts far stronger than the southern forest wolf. The professor cautiously responds that such powerful monsters are highly unlikely to appear. Ian counters by asking if the previous monsters did not just show up without warning. Meaning there are absolutely no guarantees, Derek firmly shuts down the concern. He explains that the odds of an apex beast appearing are practically zero. Such monsters only spawn in regions thick with wild, unrefined magical energy. Since the Empire purges these zones, the festival keeps the threat level low. Dangerous creatures are kept far away, but Ian nervously pushes the question further. What if a high-tier beast survived? The professor dismisses the idea. True powerhouses possess a massive aura, making it impossible for them to hide. Derek adds that the Academy event is specifically designed to test the students. They must hunt strong targets to sharpen their skills under real pressure. Realizing the staff will not interfere, Ian makes his decision. He will have to hunt this high-tier beast entirely on his own. The campus clock tower chimes. Over in the bustling cafeteria, Celia is getting lunch. Carrying her plate toward an empty table, classmates immediately begin whispering and jeering. The cruel jokes had paused for a bit, but now they are back in full force. Celia grits her teeth, trying to stay calm as a student named Teen approaches. He sneers, "Is she the motherless Yordina?" Rage flares inside her. The bullies crowd around her, mockingly demanding she say something back. She tries to walk away, but Teen shoves her and knocks her lunch to the floor. The ceramic plate shatters as Celia hits the ground, crying out in pain. Even as she falls, she refuses to fight back. This is so hard to watch. Why does she let these cowards walk all over her? Meanwhile, outside, the weather is perfect. Ian strolls through the sunshine, smiling as he enjoys being out of the hospital. Reaching the campus, he catches wind of the drama that just went down. Bystanders are whispering about a girl who just fled the cafeteria in tears. They mock the Yordina name, calling her a total disgrace to her noble house. All because her mother was common-born. They laugh, wondering if anyone will actually defend her. They figure her only ally is that random senior who keeps tagging along. One boy forgets the name, but a voice speaks up. It is Ian Purkis. Turning around, the gossiping student freezes in pure terror, staring right at Ian. Feeling the young man's suffocating aura, he trembles. Ian asks if there is a problem. The panicked student quickly tries to deflect, rambling about how nice the weather is. He glances around, only to realize his cowardly friends have already bolted. Before he can run, Ian drops a heavy hand on his shoulder, asking for a quick chat. Ian shuts the door behind him, admitting he still has a ton of questions. Why do swordsmanship students need to study topology? The subject honestly makes him sick. Leto strolls over and hands him a paper, which turns out to be a fresh news article about Ian. The piece claims Ian became the absolute talk of the Academy overnight. He apparently took down over 10 magic beasts from the southern forest, completely alone. That tally included a high-ranking monster, but the paper also claims Celia ran away. And this is despite her being the strongest student in the second-year class. The article leaves Ian completely baffled because Celia never actually abandoned him. She went to get a teacher. Leto comments that the truth does not sell. Dramatic twist sells much better, and nothing grabs attention like a fleeing elite. Readers love hearing that an arrogant Yordina fled while a poor noble beat the monsters. Ian immediately asks who wrote this trash so he can correct the lies, but Leto sighs. He warns Ian to give up because the author would never listen to a low-ranking noble. Ian remembers the writer as a haughty snob who always looks down on commoners. He knows there is zero chance the article gets changed. Even so, he worries deeply about how this false news will damage Celia. Cruel rumors, very similar to Teen's usual insults, are already starting to spread. Ian mentions he already warned some sophomores to watch their mouths. But Leto has a bad feeling, doubting Teen has enough pull to cause this. This suggests someone far more powerful is orchestrating these attacks from the shadows. and they are clearly weaponizing secrets about the girl's lineage. Faced with this mess, Ian decides his very first step is to crush Teen. He wants to teach that group a lesson. While searching for Celia, he spots her. She is walking alone through the campus. He calls out, wanting to know what happened. But he suddenly cuts himself off, noticing something messy on her head. Oh, this is bad. Celia softly explains that she overheard students whispering about the cafeteria incident. They said she should be too ashamed to show her face, but she still needed food. She is human even with a lower-class mother, but their cruel words shook her. Those bullies loudly accused her of being a street orphan with a different father. Celia has no idea how they uncovered her mother's secret, but she wanted it over. The boys just mocked her, asking why she was giving them such a scary look. They snickered that they were talking about someone else entirely, yet she got triggered. Furious, Celia clenches her jaw and charges forward to teach the pair a lesson. But in the next split second, her foot sinks into a hidden magic hole. Reflexively, Celia shifts her entire weight to her other foot to recover her balance. Instead, she steps directly into another magic trap and collapses onto the hard ground. The boys burst out laughing before one uncorks a bottle and pours wine over her. He smirks, pretending it was a complete accident, and mockingly asks if she is okay. He even warns her that the streets can be pretty dangerous. Celia realizes the truth. These traps were definitely set beforehand, since chantless magic is normally impossible. Back in the present, Celia finishes her story, softly explaining to Ian why she chose not to fight. She simply wanted to avoid causing trouble. Ian is completely furious, pointing out that those vicious insults were plenty of reason. But she quietly notes that the bully apologized and never used her actual name. Overwhelmed by the raw humiliation, a single tear slowly rolls down her cheek. She is terrified of bringing trouble to her family by opposing them. Ian silently watches her for a moment. She thanks him for just listening. Celia says she feels fine now, but the young man knows better. She feels safe with him nearby, but Ian leaves, fueled by pure rage. Ian seeks them out. Meanwhile, a student brags to Teen about Celia. He laughs about how she fell into magic traps during her attack. Teen asks about the juice, and the boy brags about pouring it on her. Suddenly, they spot Ian standing there and mockingly ask what he wants. Unloading a heavy aura, he demands to know who told them about Celia. A red-haired boy scoffs, asking why they should tell him anything. But before the bully can even finish his smug sentence, Ian shuts him up with a massive punch right to the face. Clutching his bloody nose, the guy screams, calling Ian a crazy low-ranking noble. Ian immediately pins him with his sword before throwing him aside, knocking him out cold. A blue-haired student charges from behind, screaming curses at the top of his lungs. But Ian saw him coming and casually knocks him back with a swift sword strike. 2 bullies down, he sheathes his blade and eyes the rest. He admits he never expected a quick confession, so he will do this the hard way. His plan is to thrash every single one of them until they beg Celia for forgiveness. Looking at how they hold their weapons, Ian realizes something pretty satisfying. It turns out he has already taken out the only magic users here. That leaves Teen, the top third-year student, and the only real threat here. His strategy is simple: crush the weak links first and save Teen for last. 3 students rush forward with drawn swords, but Ian is more than ready. Now watch how fast he closes the distance without leaving a single opening. He trades heavy blows with the first guy, who barely manages to defend himself. The boy tries to grab Ian's weapon, but Ian roars with pure force. Overpowering the guard, he smashes the flat of his blade right into his face. Another one down, but 2 opponents suddenly strike from behind. They leap together, aiming for a quick and brutal knockout blow. Ian barely manages to block both weapons at once, losing his balance for a second. With a massive effort, he holds his ground and shoves them back. He forces them away with a wide swing, then pulls his blade back. After cracking one over the head, he immediately charges at the very last boy. This time he draws his heavy axe instead, fueled by pure rage. The last student panics at the sight of the giant blade and falls instantly. Only one enemy remains, Teen, who has just been watching this whole time. Finally draws his weapon and asks how Ian became so insanely strong. He wonders if the young man got some kind of miracle drug from Celia. Ian is caught off guard, asking how he even knows about their private training. The third year replies that beating Yordina repeatedly made him famous. Everyone at the academy is watching him now. Suddenly, Teen charges with deadly intent. He swings his gigantic blade, but Ian manages a last-second block. The sheer impact of the heavy blow drags his feet backward across the ground. Teen relentlessly presses his advantage, completely confident in his own physical superiority. Ian struggles, yet Teen confidently claims he cannot lose. The young hero has incredible swordsmanship, but lacks any magic. Ian reads his movements perfectly. Even so, the magic sword is dangerous. He stands no chance against Teen's overwhelming speed. It's an explosive combination of magic and sheer raw power. The enemy slams his blade down. Ian barely rolls away. Capitalizing on a split-second opening, Ian quickly launches a heavy counterattack. Knocked off balance, he desperately recovers his battle stance. Teen laughs, telling him he cannot win by simply running away like a coward. Pushed to his absolute limit, Ian snaps that he will silence him. Teen dares him to try, promising to surrender if he succeeds. Of course, the match was never meant to be fair. Hearing that hypocrisy from the brute who targeted defenseless Celia is sickening. Suddenly, Teen charges directly forward, radiating pure murderous intent. Seeing the heavy blade descending from above, Ian braces to block. But Teen suddenly feints, shifting his trajectory in a split second. The sudden strike lands dead on, sending Ian crashing hard into the dirt. Fooled completely by the speed, Ian quickly realizes he isn't hurt. Teen approaches, deeply curious about Ian's previous battle against Celia. Specifically, how he dodged an impossible strike by bending reality. The arrogant third year demands to know the secret, making Ian wonder if he's talking about the exact moment he was possessed by that ancient evil spirit. On his knees, Ian remembers that only true masters use spatial steps. Instantly, he has a massive epiphany. Everything makes sense now. Recalling his topology classes, he notices the soft, footprint-covered ground. Using the environment is his absolute only way to win. Amused by the technique, Teen prepares to attack once again. He strikes the earth directly, throwing Ian completely off balance. Ian desperately dodges the debris, doing a clean flip to land safely among the craters. The protagonist silently grips his sword, waiting while his opponent mocks him. Exhausted and running entirely on fumes, Ian simply bides his time. He waits for Teen to get close. With a shout, Teen lunges. The opponent commits to a final blow, leaving a fresh footprint in the soft ground. In a flash, Teen is right beside him, but Ian evades the charge effortlessly. The challenger realizes too late. Ian already holds his weapon. He drives his sharp hatchet directly into the opponent's face. Teen is an absolute monster to survive that, but Ian still has a card left. Ian immediately tackles his opponent, slamming him violently to the ground. Pinning Teen down, he wraps his hands tightly around the boy's neck. The panicked senior gasps, asking what he is doing. Ian raises his weapon. Aiming the flat side of his blade, he tells him to shut up. Without hesitation, Ian slams the flat of the weapon directly onto Teen's forehead. The impact knocks him out cold instantly, but the beating continues. This is pure revenge. Bullies like Teen must be utterly humiliated. Once the brutal beating finally ends, the onlookers are left speechless. With the first bully down, Lupin, the third son of Count Rianella, starts panicking. He was knocked down earlier, but now he screams, asking how Ian dares touch him. The spoiled noble even demands that Ian drop to his knees to beg for forgiveness. But Ian just hurls his heavy axe, grazing the kid's cheek and instantly silencing him. Ian stomps over, warning the terrified kid that he is next to get crushed. He demands to know how they got Celia's private details. Lupin stammers that some green-haired girl showed up and told them everything. Ian highly doubts this story, but he decides to just walk right past him. Lupin keeps his head down as Ian heavy-handedly grips his shoulder. Ian whispers that there won't be a second chance for a coward like him. Leaving the bruised bullies behind, Ian hopes this lesson keeps them away. Now he silently vows to track down that green-haired informant and crush her. Who could she even be? Later, during their swordsmanship class, Celia watches the training duels, searching the crowd for Ian but finding nothing. Her heart flutters with embarrassment, wondering if he actually went to avenge her. Suddenly, Celia overhears a nasty whisper, calling her a motherless orphan. Two girls are laughing right at her, cruelly mocking her lack of family. Furious, Celia grips her sword hilt, but hesitates and tries to calm down. She forces herself to let go, even as they keep insulting her manners. They sneer that she was only half-raised, but Celia chooses to ignore them. Suddenly, Teen appears behind the petty crowd, ordering them to stop. The startled girls spin around, completely annoyed by his sudden interruption. Teen warns them to stop if they do not want to end up like him. One of the girls quickly stammers an excuse, claiming it was all a misunderstanding. Teen just scoffs, there is zero room for excuses here. That absolute lunatic Ian beat them to a pulp without asking any questions. The girls instantly pale, realizing just how dangerous it is to target Celia now. They look at Teen's battered face and realize Ian did all of this. Teen's group walks right up to Celia, and one boy yells at the crowd to stop staring. Then he deeply bows to her, apologizing and promising they will never bother her again. Celia is stunned, muttering that there was really no need to make such a public scene. But Teen explains there is a very practical reason for doing this publicly. If rumors spread, they would be humiliated, and they definitely do not want another beating. He admits he still dislikes her, but knows the powerful people backing her could easily ruin him. In this harsh academy, finding strong allies is a skill in itself. Before walking away, Teen asks her to make sure Ian knows they made peace. Celia watches him go, realizing he is actually way smarter than she thought. The mocking girls quickly apologize as well, leaving Celia completely dumbfounded. Normally, she would have just quietly endured the abuse, believing she had no choice. Yet she feels deeply frustrated for always relying on Ian to save her. She vows that next time, she will stand tall and handle her own problems. Meanwhile, over at the Academy Hospital, things are getting a bit tense. The Saint calls out to Ian, asking with an annoyed sigh if he enjoys getting hurt. She brings up the wild rumor that he single-handedly thrashed 8 students yesterday. And yet, miraculously, not a single one of them ended up hospitalized. Ian had solid reasons, but without her help, the Rianella family would have caused absolute chaos. She says the Count was furious. His son ran home crying, complaining about being used as a punching bag. Ian is absolutely certain that this guy is still going to seek payback. He wonders what would happen if they pressured the Count's family instead. The Saint explains she defended him because of a favor he did. Ian asks what favor she could possibly owe, but she just walks away. She mentions accepting a small gift from him once, nothing major. He is completely blanking, no memory of giving her a single thing. He concludes this must have happened back during his possession period. Looking back on everything, he barely even knew her outside school. Her excuse to the Count, definitely not just a simple favor. What did he actually do? Honestly, we are all dying to know that secret too. Suddenly, Selene bursts into the infirmary, desperately calling out for Ian. Clinging tight, she asks if he is all right, typical clingy behavior he never gets. Selene snaps, furious that he always plays the hero for Celia. Ian shakes his head, telling her he would have done the exact same. For her, after all, he promised to always keep her safe. She blushes. He confirms it. Years and years ago, greedy nobles targeted Selene's family, trying to steal their family mines and brutally attacking her uncle. Leaving him completely bedridden, watching her suffer, Ian vowed to protect her. Selene wraps him in a tight hug, but Ian quickly clarifies he looks after her strictly as a younger sister. Frustrated by the rejection, Selene stomps hard on his foot, screaming that he ruined the moment on purpose. He asks what he did wrong, but she snaps at him to just forget it. She refuses to explain anything to an idiot, quickly changing the subject. Selene wants Celia's drama sorted out fast to get her out of their hair. The rumors are nothing new, but now even complete strangers are teasing her directly. Ian remembers Leto mentioning this exact issue, prompting him to ask. If Selene knows who started it, she rules out the second-year classes. They always travel in packs. Ian remembers Teen's group was also manipulated. Since the first years barely even know Celia, they rule them out too. That leaves the fourth years as the most likely suspects, Selene tells Ian. To have Leto use his connections to dig up some dirt. The target is a fourth-year student, a high-ranking noble with green hair. That narrow description makes the search easy, leaving only the mastermind to find. Days later, Ian finally walks out of the infirmary after his clash with Teen. He feels lonely without a welcoming crowd. On his way out, he spots Emma's father, who immediately bows in deep respect. Ian tells him to drop the formalities and asks how Emma is doing. The father admits she is barely hanging on. He is completely at his wit's end, but Ian firmly promises that a miracle will save her. The crying father thanks Ian for taking down the magic beast that hurt her. He says he has no idea how he can ever repay him, Ian insists. He only did what any decent person would do, politely turning down the gratitude. Father bids farewell, leaving Ian deeply lost in thought on how to save the girl. Outside, Ian thinks about Leto's school connections, trusting the kid's ability. He is sure Leto can handle the investigation, despite wanting a reward. Strolling along, he spots Celia practicing her swordplay exactly where he expected. Her aura feels significantly more powerful than during their last actual clash. Looking closely, he wonders how on earth he actually beat her twice. Once she wraps up, Ian checks in on her. She immediately blushes. Stammering, she blurts out that she never feels okay without him around. Bowing in panic over her slip of the tongue, she quickly resets. She asks about his condition, and Ian says he is doing great. He then questions her about that intense move she was just performing. She explains it is the Golden Lion Sword, her family's style. It forms multiple phantom blades to throw off any opponent's guard. Right now she can manage only 3, while true masters summon well over 10. Ian asks if watching is allowed, and she says yes, smugly. After all, he could never copy a secret technique like this anyway. Realizing she sounds incredibly arrogant, she quickly adds that he is already strong. Humiliated tears well up in Ian's eyes, making her panic and apologize. He laughs it off, secretly glad she is finally learning social skills. She then softly thanks him for everything, referencing yesterday's intense rescue. Ian gently takes her hands and tells her not to worry anymore. He reassures her that they will always have each other's backs. Naturally, he drops the classic friendzone line right under the moonlight. Celia's face turns beet red at his words, her heart racing wildly. She shyly insists her issues are manageable and she can handle them. Intrigued by her sudden shift, Ian tells her to reach out anytime. She asks if she said something wrong, but Ian quickly changes the subject. He suggests they get right back to her training instead. Watching her move, he notices her energy flow is incredibly stable now. Once she stops, he points out a weird detail he noticed. He asks if her aura changed color, and her blank nod shocks him. Her aura is now a vibrant blue, and in their world that means everything. Since aura reflects the deep subconscious, this shift points to major growth. Yet Celia claims she has not felt any different on the inside. Ian wonders if this is linked to her mother's dark past. Her face falls as she explains that cannot be the reason why. That pain is ancient, reaching all the way back to her childhood. Her mother was banished from the Yordina household when Celia was only 6 years old. The poor woman begged not to be torn away from her child. But her cold father ordered his knights to drag her out immediately. The brutal guards disfigured her face, yet she kept reaching for her daughter. Terrified of sharing that same fate, little Celia forced herself to look away. After her mother was dragged off, Celia's older sister delivered a threat. She warned Celia to prove her worth or suffer the exact same end. From that day on, she poured her entire soul into swordsmanship. Ian quietly asks if this trauma is why she is so desperate to win. But Celia explains that while that was her initial plan, now she simply wants to prove she is not weak. She assures him she is perfectly fine, especially since she has Ian by her side, thinking he cannot leave her alone. Ian says she just needs to win the festival, defeating her sister in a direct duel is almost impossible, but her chances at the event are much higher. Elsewhere, the green-haired girl tells Deline about Celia's desire to join the hunting festival. Deline replies that it really does not matter, because leaking the story about her rival's mother was just a simple greeting. She plans to crush Celia personally, once training wrapped up. Ian remembers he needs to finish reading that future letter he almost forgot about. He tells her he has a few things to handle before they leave. But before he can walk away, Celia grabs his overcoat sleeve. She gathers up her courage, asking if he wants to grab breakfast. Ian agrees to head over to the cafeteria together, but Selene suddenly cuts in, calling him a terrible senior and asking if training is finally done. Seeing Celia, Selene acts completely hostile, while Celia just politely greets her back. Then Selene asks if Ian was heading out for breakfast. Talk about bold, she grabs his arm to invite him to eat alone. Then, like they always do, Ian asks since when they ever had that habit, but she is already dragging him away. Celia pulls Ian back and tells her no. This sudden tug of war starts drawing a crowd of onlookers. Selene asks if Celia wants something from her Ian, leaving him completely speechless. But Celia just tells her to let go of his arm. Ian's friend fires back, asking who she thinks she is to get in their way. Selene sneers that Celia is just desperate for his attention, claiming he only got close out of pure pity. Ian quickly denies that, and Celia realizes Selene really is a toxic piece of work. Celia remarks that she seems like the type who whispered behind her back when she was still known as the arrogant Yordina. Selene screams, asking if Celia is trying to make her look bad, but Celia just throws the accusation back, stepping closer to prove her point. She boldly declares she will keep acting miserable just to stay close to Ian forever. Losing all patience, Selene grabs her sword and Celia dares her to draw it, warning that she absolutely won't hold back anymore. Ian finally shouts at the two of them to stop fighting right after he walks away and asks to be left alone for a while, leaving both girls frustrated that they ruined their chance to get close to him. Elsewhere, Ian takes a drink while Leto quietly observes him. Ian complains about the drama with the girls, explaining he walked away because he couldn't stand the headache anymore. Leto comments that it sounds like a pretty enviable problem since Ian has two girls fighting over him. He adds that Selene's feelings must be all over the place with this new rival. Ian complains that his friend brought up this annoying topic anyway and decides to ask about the investigation. Leto tells him not to rush since he has several of his girlfriends and exes searching for the target. He points out it wouldn't be a real investigation if they found her instantly. Ian then asks if it's possible for a letter to arrive from the future. Leto asks what's wrong with him for saying such bizarre things, so Ian decides to prove it by pulling. Ian pulls the hidden letter out. He tells his friend to look, but Leto sees nothing. Leto stares at the empty hand, asking if he has lost his mind entirely. Waving his hand through empty air, Ian realizes only he can see the paper. He frantically explains all the bizarre trouble this strange letter has caused him. Specifically, the text warns of a monstrous beast appearing at the hunting festival. Leto shrugs. That is normal since fourth-year students are participating. Ian tries to emphasize the massive danger, but he stumbles over his words. He keeps repeating himself, leaving Leto thoroughly confused by the warning. Everyone already knows about the festival. Frustrated, Ian completely shuts down. He just stands there staring blankly at nothing, unable to explain. Leto decides to trust him, guessing that a bizarre time distortion is targeting Ian alone. He explains how these anomalies work. They require massive magic. They have strict limits and severe penalties because they break natural laws. Ian remembers Emma mentioning something similar, but the concept still makes no sense. To help him understand, Leto uses the upcoming festival beast as an example. He asks how that future monster could be defeated if this warning was already written. This creates a massive paradox that completely shatters the normal order of reality. Because of this, carrying knowledge from the future becomes incredibly dangerous. Ian nervously asks if such a paradox could actually destroy the entire world. Leto confirms it, warning him that one single wrong move could trigger absolute disaster. Whoever sent this wanted to avoid disaster, meaning Ian must tread very carefully. Since his future knowledge is limited, he simply needs to act normal to stay safe. Still, Ian realizes the horrifying power to destroy reality rests entirely on him. As a low noble from the countryside, he has no idea how to handle this. Walking through the academy grounds, he anxiously wonders what his next move should be. Suddenly, a sharp voice calls out his name from behind. He turns around slowly. A short, aggressive girl confronts him, asking if he is the one who thrashed her brother. In an instant, a crowd of hostile students gathers to surround him. Lupin is standing right next to the girl, whispering venomously directly into her ear. Ian immediately realizes this is a setup for revenge, and he starts weighing his options. Girl Elsie declares that the Rianella family would never let his actions slide. She commands a massive faction here, and not even the saint could easily calm them down. Wait, is he seriously about to just stand there and take a beating? But before anyone can move, a loud crash echoes right near the tense standoff. One of Elsie's cronies suddenly drops to the ground, completely knocked out cold. Nobody understands what just happened until they spot a raised hand in the distance. A striking blonde girl steps forward, instantly drawing everyone's shocked attention. He immediately recognizes her, as she casually apologizes for launching the sudden assault. While Elsie tenses for a fight, the legendary Celia Yordina approaches them. She asks why they are making such an embarrassing scene in public. Delphine calls the sight disgusting, but Elsie sneers back at her usual rude attitude. The two girls stand nose to nose, sparks practically flying between them. Delphine coldly tells her to move, but Elsie snaps back, telling her to beat it. This is actually the first time Ian has ever seen this famous girl up close. He only saw her in the news, should he try talking to her. Celia's sister is nearby, but Ian decides it's best to quietly slip away. Right then, one of Elsie's classmates grabs his shoulder, demanding to know where. He thinks he's going, and if he thinks he can actually run away, Ian calmly replies that he'd never dream of running. The student draws his blade, but a sudden scream distracts them all. Elsie assumes Deline likes Ian, mocking that she'd gladly let her have him for a night before dealing with him herself tomorrow. As she walks off, Elsie asks what Deline plans to do about what Ian did to her little sister, leaving Ian pretty confused by their bizarre talk. Just after that, a painful, agonizing shriek rings out with a spray of blood, making the girls turn. Ian stands totally still, while Elsie's classmate writhes on the floor, clutching his arm. Ian looks right at Elsie. She can say whatever garbage she wants about him, but she should have kept Celia out of this mess. The girls stare in pure shock. Ian demands to know how she plans to pay for those words, making Elsie scream that Ian is trying to attack her, prompting her loyal classmates to step up as shields. With a blinding leap, the young man strikes one square in the head, knocking him out cold. The blonde student crashes down, spraying blood all over the place. From an impact so brutal it shatters the floor. Instantly, another boy charges with his sword. Ian effortlessly dodges every single slash and quickly closes the distance between them. He parries the swing with his hatchet, sending the attacker off balance. Exploiting the opening, Ian steps in with his hatchet raised high, calling the boy far too slow, and with just one hit, slams his head straight into the ground. Now our main character stands alone among the unconscious students. But wait, Ian suddenly dodges a massive lightning bolt, crashing right beside him. He mutters that this is exactly how things have to be as he sees Elsie pointing her staff straight at him. Ian dares her to fight since he already cleared the pests. Elsie spits back that he has completely lost his mind, furiously screaming and asking if Ian really thinks he can actually defeat her, to which he replies that there is no way of knowing without trying. Without hesitating, he takes a huge leap, ending up right behind her. He strikes the ground, and the sheer force of the blasts her back, though she barely manages to shield herself in time. With shaky breath, she sneers, asking if he thought he could shatter her barrier. Looking pretty menacing, Ian warns he will keep trying to see how long her defense lasts. Elsie calls him completely delusional. She admits his moves are decent since he beat her lackeys, but she guarantees a third year could never hope to defeat her. Before she can finish, Ian charges forward and slams his weapon against the barrier, startling her. While she desperately tries to curse at him, the young man literally rips right through the protective shield, grabs her head, and slams it deep into the dirt. Raising his heavy hatchet, Ian coldly notes that she was far too confident, mockingly asking if she will talk once her defense is shattered. He rains down continuous strikes, making her shield crack bit by bit. Still incredibly cocky, Elsie doubts he can break her barrier and prepares to use magic. However, she quickly realizes she is in serious, deep trouble as Ian raises his heavy axe once more. Her barrier explodes right in front of everyone, while Deline just stands still, completely frozen as she watches the chaos unfold. The defeated girl raises her staff, her hands trembling violently. Around them, the onlookers freeze. He just shattered her defense with raw power. Desperate, Elsie begs him to stop. She screams for help. Ian looks down. Is she really begging for her life now? He thought she was ready to fight to the death after talking trash. She panics, asking if he actually plans to end her over that. She screams that she does not want to die, but Ian simply raises his heavy axe again. If she did not want to die, she shouldn't have started this. To him, death is just a natural part of fighting for honor. He swings the heavy weapon down, but strikes only the dirt right beside her. As she trembles in pure terror, Ian warns her he is letting it slide this once. He turns to leave. Behind him, the terrified crowd quickly looks away. Suddenly, a familiar voice calls out, and Ian turns to see Delphine standing right there. She asks if he has some free time soon, wishing to speak with him in private. Later that afternoon, in another part of the academy, Leto is laughing. He teases Ian, saying he had no idea his friend was the axe murderer. That is what all the students are calling him now. Ian sighs, looking pretty annoyed. He asks if Leto wants to taste that fear too, but he keeps joking. Leto quickly changes the subject, mentioning that Ian met with Delphine. Ian confirms this, but when asked what she wanted, he says he has no clue. Still, they are meeting tonight. Ian asks if Leto found any dirt. Specifically, who started the bullying against Celia. Leto confirms he has the answers. He hands Ian a folded paper, telling him to read it. Ian opens the large sheet. He carefully reads over the details, as Leto watches him with a smirk. He asks why he is so quiet, expecting Ian to lose his temper. But Ian stays quiet. He feels strangely calm right now. They already had several clues, and looking back, this reason makes perfect sense. Ian already figured this might be the motive behind all the harassment. Leto asks if this paper finally confirms all his original suspicions. Ian nods in agreement, and Leto wonders what their next move is going to be. Ian decides to confront the target first, waiting for her response before making a move. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, and honestly you have to feel for her here, Celia sits alone. Holding a piece of paper, she realizes that Ian fought for her honor once again. Elsie only targeted him because he beat up the people who originally bullied her. Just when Celia believed she could handle the situation on her own, she was saved. Being rescued again like this only makes her feel completely embarrassed. Ian appears, asking why she looks so downcast, causing her to jump in pure surprise. She quickly crumples the paper, hiding it behind her back as she scrambles for words. The girl immediately apologizes for the massive scene she caused the other day. She even treated Celine terribly for no reason, but Ian shrugs it off. He admits he was pretty annoyed back then too, but he is completely over it. Telling Celia she can relax, she immediately protests. She hates that she just stands by while he fights others on her behalf. He even got Elsie dragged into this mess, but Ian reassures her gently. He says she can always lean on him whenever she is in trouble. After all, they are partners, and they should always look out for each other. Maybe next time she will be the one helping him, letting the girl understand things a bit better. Gathering her courage, a trembling Celia stammers and asks to hug him. The boy is completely confused by the request, but before he can even reply, she is already hugging him. Ian does not understand what is happening. Celia holds on tight, taking full advantage of the fact that Selene is not around to interfere. Eventually, she snaps out of it, lets go, and tries to explain herself. Saying a hug was exactly what her mother used to do whenever she cried. Celia asks if she made him uncomfortable, admitting that she simply got carried away and never meant to upset him. Looking down at the ground, she spots a sepia flower blooming. This seems quite unusual since those flowers only grow in the north. It is her first time seeing one in this southern forest. Ian instantly recalls that the mysterious sender of the letter went by the alias Sepia. After all, his main goal was to discover her true identity, making this the perfect opportunity. He asks if she likes that specific flower. Celia nods, explaining her mother loved it as well, which naturally made her love it too. Ian wonders if that is why the sender used that nickname, indicating the flower held deep meaning for her. The letter also claimed they would grow much closer during the upcoming hunting festival. This makes Ian wonder if Celia and Sepia are actually the same person, and if she is the one he will marry later on. He quickly shakes away those thoughts. Remembering she is just his junior and his primary focus must remain on his work, he tells Celia that he wants to ask a personal question, instantly sparking her curiosity. He asks if Deline is already set to inherit everything, or if she has a chance. Instead, the girl quietly admits she is not qualified to become the successor. Since Deline has all the power and backing, Ian wonders if her older sister seeks to control her, as both are daughters of the chief, and any fight for leadership would be highly unpredictable. Celia quickly cuts him off, explaining she has never challenged her sister, always choosing to act obediently. She says Deline warned her that she would be kicked out the moment she stopped being useful. That is why she always focused on her duties, at least until she chose to join the hunting festival. She asks why he is so curious about this, but he avoids the question. He only replies that he might have to face Deline in the near future. That is why he wants to know exactly what kind of person she is. At night, at the high-ranking noble's dormitory, Edilus Hall, a butler appears to escort him to the meeting. Their upcoming talk is highly private, and the boy feels quite nervous about the fresh rumors bound to spread across the academy. Once announced, he steps inside with absolute determination to uncover the truth. He politely asks to enter while Deline warmly welcomes him and invites him too. Step closer, Ian notices she is wearing only a robe and asks if she could change her outfit, but she playfully asks if he dislikes what he sees. He quickly counters, calling her incredibly beautiful. Deline thanks him for the sweet compliment and tells him to take a seat. Sitting down, Ian respectfully suggests it would be wise for her to be mindful of her appearance around a man. Pouring wine into a glass, Deline simply replies that there is no need for such rules, arguing that seeing beautiful things makes men just want to possess them, so most women cover up to avoid their dangerous desires. But since no one here can touch her, she sees no reason to worry about silly things. Ian actually agrees with her, making the girl comment that he seems pretty naive. He explains he was born in the countryside and does not understand how high society works. Delphine playfully tells him he should start getting used to it right now. She is subtly trying to seduce him before quickly shifting the topic of conversation. Delphine asks Ian to ally with her, calling him the famous Axe Prince. She claims she has never met anyone so brave, promising a highly beneficial alliance. But Ian immediately brushes off her sweet words. He is not falling for it. No way, he knows she must have some dark motive behind this. Is she actually trying to win him over, or are there hidden, darker intentions here? Before giving her a straight answer, Ian decides to ask a crucial question. He wants to know if she is aware of what has been happening to Celia lately. Delphine casually confirms it, noting the culprits must be fearless to mess with a Yordina. That is when Ian reveals he already caught the student who leaked Celia's private information. And apparently that very same student paid a visit to this exact dormitory. Slowly pouring some wine, Delphine asks where he is going with this conversation. So Ian decides it is time to lay out the entire picture for her. The mastermind behind the rumors needed high status and serious connections to pull this off. They also needed access to private family secrets that outsiders could never know. Connecting all of these dots together, only Delphine fits the profile. The girl smiles, admitting she thought he was reckless, but now realizes he is incredibly thorough. She then asks why she would ever want to torment her own sister like that. Ian knows the truth. She is acting out because Celia challenged her. Delphine agrees with his theory, but points out he does not have any real proof. Ian says he can easily find that green-haired student, but she interrupts him mid-sentence. Delphine outright confesses that she is indeed the mastermind behind the vicious attacks. Her plan was to isolate Celia completely, especially after the girl dared to challenge her. Celia wanted a duel at the upcoming hunting festival, which Ian finds pretty strange. She actually told her master about it, believing her only goal was to prove her worth. Delphine asks one more time if Ian will ally with her, praising his impressive skills. Suddenly, Ian grabs his giant axe and shatters her wine glass in a split second. But Delphine barely flinches. Ian coldly rejects her offer on the spot. Working for someone as despicable as her would just be a massive pain, he says. Delphine wonders if she was really that obvious while setting down the broken glass shards. She warns him she is not done. Then, in a flash, she draws a dagger. She pulls it from her thigh, pointing it at Ian's neck to punish his arrogant attitude. Even with a blade at his throat, Ian speaks calmly. He is completely unfazed. Delphine mentions needing protection, and her loose robe suddenly begins to slide down. Pulling the dagger back, she whispers that her interest in him has grown immensely. Very few people can avoid hesitating during a life or death moment like this. That level of resolve makes her want him as a subordinate she can personally train. Do not try it. Ian guarantees she will regret it if she does. Delphine scoffs, claiming she never regrets her actions because regret only leads to defeat. After that bold statement, she suggests leaving things as they are for now. It is time to go. Ian swings his axe to finish the girl, warning her that he is not ready to end this matter quite yet. Fortunately, Delphine anticipates his strike before it finishes. Dodging effortlessly, the sharp blade only grazes her back. Blood trickles down. Delphine prepares her counter, thinking the boy is still too green. She easily disarms him entirely. The axe flies from his hands. She notes the ambush would have worked on anyone else. Ducking low, she prepares her final blow, wondering if she should break his spirit. She aims her strike at him, but a sudden sound interrupts everything. A rolling wine glass on the floor stops Delphine's pristine blade. The clean weapon halts right next to Ian's neck, but he has reacted in time. Drawing his hidden sword, he presses it to Delphine's neck, leaving her impressed. Ian acted without hesitation because he never planned to end this in one blow. He explains she was wrong to call him the Axe Prince. His real weapon is the sword. Delphine asks if he intends to finish her. Ian was not actually going to kill her, but she claims he did not win. Asking what she means, he argues that pushing her this far is a victory. Delphine agrees this is the first time she has been pushed so hard. She admits she got too greedy, but repeats that he did not win. Ian tells her she is being stubborn, but his words are cut short. Delphine calls him the Axe Prince again, insisting their battle must be settled. As she steps closer, her loose robe slips completely off her shoulders. She awkwardly covers herself while Ian quickly turns away, babbling absolute nonsense. The noise attracts someone outside, who asks if Delphine is all right. They say they came to check on her, but she loudly screams that she's fine. A maid in the hallway finds her mistress's voice strange and decides to check. Talk about the worst possible timing. She opens the door to find her mistress naked. Ian stares in shock while the maid panics, apologizing profusely for her intrusion. The maid quickly runs away, leaving Delphine shouting that it's a misunderstanding. Seizing the chaotic moment, Ian immediately bends down to retrieve his axe. Desperate to escape, he rushes toward the door, quickly muttering that he lost the fight. He wishes her a good night and immediately flees, closing the door. Delphine is left alone, processing what happened. Soon, a new day begins. Outside the academy, students are already whispering about senior Delphine. A green-haired boy claims Ian went to her room, threatening her with an axe. The students gossip that Ian is completely unstable and totally dangerous. Even those who knew him for 3 years think he hid a dark side. Suddenly, Ian appears, ordering them to shut up, which terrifies the group. They quickly scream and run away, shouting about the terrifying Axe Prince. Ian sighs, realizing yet another bizarre rumor has ruined his reputation. He wonders how the news spread so fast, suspecting sabotage. Then his eyes catch a flyer about the upcoming hunting festival. Reading it, he remembers he wanted to join, but hasn't registered yet. The major issue is his small team only has himself and Celia. They need to recruit more members, specifically a strong rear-guard mage. Ian tries to invite Lido, but his classmate flatly refuses and flips him off. He tries putting on a cute face, it only annoys him more. Countless rejections later, Ian gives up. He asks for a mage instead. No luck, Leto finally thinks of a few skilled people. Follow my lead, he tells Ian. On the table lies a fresh newspaper. The headline gossips about the sudden downfall of the infamous Elsie Rianella. Leto promises a solution. Leto vows he will secure a strong mage, in a back alley packed with boxes. In barrels, Elsie is busy beating up a student who desperately begs for mercy. Her recent loss does not mean they have any right to laugh. A quick compromise is offered, take 10 seconds of beating without a sound. Lashing out repeatedly, she slams him down under her crew's cold gaze. Turning with pure hatred, Elsie demands they stay out of her business. Right in front of her stands Ian, calmly resting his hand on his axe. With a light, almost teasing smile, he asks if she can spare some time. Elsie shrieks in pure terror, prompting one of her crew to run. Hanging her head, she mutters that everyone has already abandoned her. Obeying orders, Ian recalls Leto's advice to aggressively corner her. This makes him feel like a villain, but he ignores the guilt. Instead, he reassures her he just wants a quick talk. Her whole body trembles as Ian reaches a hand toward her face. Cowering back, she desperately screams that she will do absolutely anything. Just keep that axe away. Strangely, Ian begins patting her head. Treating her like a tamed pet, he smiles, noting how tough things are. Wiping away tears of absolute rage, Elsie calls him a complete bastard. She screams that everyone is laughing at her humiliating defeat because of him. But Ian calmly replies that people only say that because it is true. He tries to end it there, but she keeps whining about his fault. Ian disagrees. His actual plan was to let her group beat him up. That would have ended things quietly, but a certain someone intervened. At the mention of Delphine, Elsie's expression turns completely venomous. Ian asks if she wants revenge. Honestly, who could say no to that? She demands to know how that is even possible. The eldest Yordina child desperately needs to win the hunting festival. Disgrace is not an option. Hearing this, Elsie smirks at the thought. Her rival deserves to fail, so Ian invites her to join his team. Naturally, she questions why she should ever team up with him. A single dark glare from Ian instantly shuts down her complaints. He knows she hates him, but can she stand watching Delphine win? Picturing her gloating rival makes Elsie's blood boil with rage. Ian presses on, reminding her they can only win together. After brief hesitation, she agrees, though she senses a trap. Her reluctant nod makes him smile. They finally have magic support. With Elsie on the team, they can wait for the perfect strike. Ian will hold the front lines, tanking attacks to create openings. This allows Celia to sweep in from the side with heavy hits. But with only one defender, they absolutely need a fourth member. Selene is a must-have since her family are hunters and her synergy fits the group. But there is a problem. They absolutely despise each other. Ian worries about how to force teamwork, but he has to make it happen. Right then she snaps. Celia grabs Ian by the collar. He gasps and asks what she is doing, but her quiet voice is suddenly incredibly fragile. She demands to know what he was doing with her older sister last night. Ian stammers. His weak excuse sounds highly suspicious. Furious, Celia clenches her fists and accuses him of focusing on other girls. Ian yells that he was only answering her question, making her release him. Celia mutters that her sister must want Ian all to herself. She nervously bites her nails, while Ian dreads whatever new rumor is starting. To shift the focus, he announces that the main roster is finally locked. He invited Elsie to be their mage, which instantly gets Celia hyped. With her on board, firepower is not going to be an issue. Then the twist, Ian reveals the last member is Selene. Celia instantly scowls, knowing they will do nothing but fight. Ian explains that they need her tracking skills, even if they are total opposites. Desperate to win, he places a gentle hand on her shoulder. He acknowledges that dealing with Selene is going to be incredibly tough. Lowering his voice, he asks if she can just trust him this once. She yields. Celia blushes and agrees to trust him. Now he just needs to get Selene on board to finalize the squad. Will she accept? Ian is about to find out right now. He approaches Selene as she sits quietly on a bench and greets her. Startled, she stands up and immediately begins apologizing for their past drama. Ian waves it off, telling her not to sweat the small stuff. Selene asks if they are cool now and suggests grabbing lunch tomorrow. She points out it has been forever since they last hung out, and Ian happily accepts. But he quickly pivots to the main point, asking if she wants to join his hunting festival squad. He explains that Celia is already on board for the event. He knows the two girls do not get along whatsoever. Before he can even start convincing her, Selene cuts him off and agrees. She says they make a great team and she belongs with him. That was incredibly fast. Ian is stunned but honestly pretty thrilled. No more worrying. With Celia and Elsie, their firepower is stacked. They have some of the highest raw power in the entire academy. Plus, Ian already knows the exact weakness of the ultimate boss monster. The real problem, teamwork. One always looks for a fight. One is incredibly hostile, while the other completely lacks social skills. Since Celia and Selene clash constantly, this mission will be pure chaos. To fix this, Ian starts a controlled training session to test them. He needs to see if they will kill each other in battle. During the practice, the two girls stand side by side in icy silence. Elsie and Ian watch from the sidelines, feeling the thick, awkward tension. It is barely a real squad, but Ian has a plan. He taps the mage's shoulder. Seeing his massive axe, she apologizes for acting snobby. She promises to change her attitude the second he flashes a terrifying smile. Things are already tough. The mage does not need to make it worse. While she claims training is impossible, Selene asks what they are discussing. Celia watches in silence, complaining that it's better to just postpone everything. Delay training until tomorrow if they are only going to stand here and chat. Suddenly, Ian announces their special guest is arriving. Elsie instantly doubts it. A low-ranking noble would have connections like that, but she is cut off. A huge blast erupts right next to them, startling everyone instantly. Elsie screams in terror. What is happening? The thick dust settles slowly. Professor Derek appears, asking if the students want to become hunters. Ian, Selene, and Celia bow in agreement, but Elsie protests immediately. She has zero interest, but Ian flashing his heavy axe changes everything. She changes her mind instantly, confirming her participation right away. Derek announces a test to measure their combat proficiency. He warns them they must hunt him down and fight him. The professor gives the students 2 hours to find him. Elsie claims it will be easy. But then Derek vanishes, gone in a flash, before the four youths. lies a silent forest with no trace of him, starting their search. For this monster professor, as they walk through the woods, Celia notes Derek's incredible skill at hiding his presence. Ian wishes it was easier. But Selene points out that a careful search will yield results. Ian praises her, knowing she comes from a family of hunters. Selene immediately insults spoiled nobles who would never notice these details. Elsie snaps back, even she can easily understand that much. Celia defends her own background, while Selene asks why they are defensive. Celia fires back, saying it's wrong to judge someone just for her status. Cutting the argument short, Ian warns them he found Derek's tracks. He tells everyone to follow. Selene praises him, asking if he is this good. From hunting with her so much, he tells her to focus on tracking. But she insists on bringing up their very first trip together. Celia interrupts, demanding team focus, which only annoys Selene further. She asks if the noble is just jealous of her talking with Ian. Celia denies it, but Selene claims she was only invited. To meet the minimum team size, losing patience, Celia tells her to shut up. Selene shouts back, complaining about her teammate's massive ego. Until a boot appears on a branch directly above them. Derek asks if they forgot that beasts do not just run away. Ian sees the trap. He screams for everyone to run. Derek leaps down, triggering a massive explosion where he lands. He notes they were not even trying to hide their presence. Instead, they were busy fighting among themselves like fools. Teaching them is useless, but Derek notices Ian and Selene are unharmed. They escape the blast thanks to fast support magic from Elsie. He acknowledges her rare skill, and she smugly agrees with him. He boasts about being the absolute best fourth year around, teleporting to Elsie. The professor snaps her staff away, mocking their total failure to guard her. Ian realizes they need to fall back and regroup right now. But Celia is already charging. He desperately shouts to stop her. But she is already confronting Derek. The professor easily evades the blow, telling her to work as a team before knocking her flat. A simple strike to the neck did it. Now 2 are down. Derek walks over to Ian and Selene, asking for their next move. Celia is still groaning on the ground, unlike the unconscious Elsie. Ian, begging Selene to help Celia, argues she is their strongest teammate. Selene immediately refuses, claiming they can win easily without her. Ian cannot believe his ears. Is she seriously refusing to help right now? Selene only complains about how much he seems to care for Celia. Derek cuts right through the nonsense, warning them about real monsters. Their teamwork is completely dead. Soon, all 4 are flat on the ground. A total disaster. The entire group has been thoroughly crushed in seconds. As Selene struggles to rise, Derek calls her out by her full name. Questioning her very place on this squad, Ian watches them bicker endlessly. Completely destroying any hope of cooperation, he has to take action. To win this competition, he must fix this. Later at night, Selene stands in the girls' dormitory, staring as the tap water runs. She thinks of Ian, how he always pampered and protected her. Stepping out of the bathroom, Selene spots a small folded note on the floor. The note from Ian asks her to meet him in the eastern forest at 10:30. Selene wonders if he will lecture her, or maybe a confession. Can you blame her? Walking through the quiet forest, the girl blushes under the moonlight. Deep in the woods, she finds Ian standing fully geared up in the dead of night. She asks what he wants at this hour, but Ian cuts straight. To the point, he asks how long she plans on picking fights with Celia. Selene begins cursing her rival, but Ian calls her out immediately, forcing her to admit she did it on purpose out of pure spite. Ian tells her they are settling this right now, throwing a sword down. Selene asks what he is doing and if the weapon is real. Ian confirms it is, wanting no excuses, and states the winner of this duel gets to call the shots from now on, no holding back. Drawing his own sword, he reminds her they always settled things this way. Selene smiles, remembering their childhood scraps. He really has not changed. She picks up the weapon and accepts the challenge. The battle is on. Taking her stance, she asks for the victory condition. Ian replies simply, "Whoever surrenders loses." In the next instant, Selene charges like lightning. Her heavy side strike pushes Ian back, showing her incredible physical strength. She raises her weapon for a brutal follow-up. Suddenly, an explosion blasts Ian backward. Selene is way stronger than he ever expected. Recovering his footing, he asks if she drank some booster potion. Selene, panting for breath, snaps back, asking what evil spirit possessed him. A past lesson taught her a simple truth: put all your power into one blow. It sounded crazy, but it actually worked, catching her opponent off guard. Ian falls right on his knees, looking incredibly annoyed with how it went. Selene smirks, warning him that she is taking this win, so he better get ready. She rushes in, bringing down a massive vertical strike with all her weight behind it. Ian knows a single clean hit means game over. But he quickly notices something: her heavy swings are starting to slow down. After a wild swing, Selene leaves herself completely wide open. Ian lunges forward for a quick thrust, but she barely rolls aside. In a flash, she slips behind him. She is ready to end the duel for good. He spins around with a defensive slash, but she warns him it is too weak. "You cannot block one-handed," she yells, aiming straight for his legs. Ian tosses his sword. He draws his axe just in time to block. He instantly counters with a swing of his own, but she slips away. Shocked, he demands to know how she could possibly dodge that so easily. Selene laughs, saying everyone already knows his axe trick. He needs a new plan. Ian charges ahead, grips his sword, and chucks the heavy axe right at her. She expects this easily, scoffing if he really thinks a simple throw will work. But as she blocks, she freezes. Another weapon is flying right behind it. He threw his sword too. She blocks it, yelling if he lost his mind. Ian leaps forward, catching his flying axe right out of the air. With a heavy downward strike, he smashes her hands and disarms her. Selene hits the dirt. She scrambles for her sword while Ian recovers his. He tells her she is far too slow, aiming directly for her arm instead. All he wants is to disable her without causing serious injury before the big festival. Desperate, she swings back, but Ian realizes his blade is heading for her heart. If he does not change his trajectory right now, she is going to die. To stop the worst, he deliberately blocks her blade with his own bare arm. The steel slices deep, blood drips while his sword stops inches from her chest. Selene drops to her knees, staring in absolute shock with tearful eyes. Ian gently pats her head, whispering that he won. She begs him to get help. He just shrugs it off, telling her to apologize to Celia and do her best. She asks through her tears if that is seriously all he wants from her. But before he can answer, Ian collapses. He hits the dirt cold. Selene screams his name in terror. Soon, the next morning finally arrives. Ian wakes up inside the academy infirmary, his entire arm wrapped in clean bandages. Selene is sitting right there, letting out a sigh of relief as he stirs. He asks if she stayed. She quietly nods, confirming it. She claims his wounds are pretty light, and he agrees, feeling very little pain. Just at that moment, the door opens and Celia steps inside the quiet room. Ian asks why she came. Celia explains the saint told her everything. Selene remembers her promise. She stands up to face her rival directly. She bows, apologizing for starting all those fights, promising to never do it again. Ian watches them, knowing the final choice to forgive lies solely with Celia. Celia simply smiles, telling Selene that her behavior never actually bothered her. She accepts the apology. Taking some blame, she asks them to just get along. They shake hands. Just like that, the bitter rivals agree to be friends. With their attitudes changed, Ian smiles. This went way better than he expected. Now their chances in the upcoming festival look so much better. Since talent was never the issue, their teamwork should skyrocket from here. Suddenly, the door opens. The saint walks in, instantly noticing their improvement. With a cold, imposing glare, she orders the girls to get out. Ian is completely thrown off. Why did her attitude flip so fast? Selene politely asks her to heal him, hoping the saint will be gentle. The woman agrees, but warns Selene to make sure he stops getting hurt. Selene nods quietly and leaves. Next, the priestess turns her gaze toward Celia. Celia is ordered out too. She begs to stay, but the priestess smiles coldly. Are you his fiancé, or maybe his mistress? Celia instantly turns red, screaming. The saint decides she has heard enough and shoves the girl outside. With the room finally quiet, she shuts the door and demands to see his arm. He shows her, muttering that she did not need to be so aggressive. She grabs him hard. Did you hurt yourself just to impress those girls? She warns him that his body cannot take another single blow. Ian chuckles, saying her painful grip is hurting him more than the injury. She does not laugh. She warns him that he is constantly getting injured lately. Keep this up and the physical damage might become permanent. Hearing that, he yields. He promises to be much more careful. She sighs, if you still plan to join the hunting festival, just quit. Your body is at its absolute limit. Ian knows she is right. But he cannot quit, there is simply too much riding on this win. The saint demands a solemn promise of safety, and he reluctantly agrees. Suddenly, Urine enters the room. The assistant has been gone for a month. He looks around, asking if anything serious happened while he was away. Ian asks about the Holy Kingdom, and Urine confirms he just returned. The saint welcomes him back, immediately asking if he secured the item. He apologizes for being late. Apparently, someone really did not want to yield. He presents a small box containing a glowing, deep red blood crystal. Ian looks confused. Urine explains that this is a unique holy treasure. It can boost the healing magic of the priestess to absolutely insane levels. Basically, it can save anyone who is still drawing a breath. He adds that with this relic, saving Emma would be easy. But the saint frowns. This item is too precious to use freely. The Holy Kingdom only allows its use during absolute, dire emergencies. She regrets she cannot use it now. Ian nods, understanding the situation. She reminds him of his promise one last time, then leaves with Urine. Left alone, Ian sighs. If he had a choice, he would skip the festival. But he gave Celia his word. They are going to win this thing. Besides, the remains of a high-tier magic beast could perform a miracle for Emma. Plus, ignoring the warning letters could definitely lead to a massive tragedy. Apologizing to the saint in his mind, he vows to survive this intact. Hurt during the incident, a discharged Ian removes his bandages. To test his hand, noticing it completely healed up in just one single night, days pass. With constant team training and lessons before the big festival finally arrives, now fully gathered with his team near the busy event tents, Ian eagerly asks his friends if they can head inside. Elsie admits she is pretty impressed they even managed to stick together until now, hoping they will at least avoid getting in each other's way. Ian replies that they did their absolute best during training, but the young girl quickly points out that real-life combat is completely different. Ian calmly agrees, saying they should be fine. At least work in sync until something suddenly cuts him off. A blade is thrown straight at his head, but he reacts in time to quickly pull an axe from his clothes to block the strike. The thrown weapon spins several times and its direct path is cut completely short. Suddenly, the haughty Delphine appears, greeting him by saying it has been a long time while mockingly calling him the Axe Prince. Ian immediately warns her. That was incredibly dangerous, but she simply tells him he is being dramatic. Delphine smoothly comments that Ian was perfectly capable of dodging that minor attack anyway, and confidently claims she wanted to say hello. Then she turns to Celia, taking an authoritative stance to ruthlessly order the young girl to give up and step aside, just like she always did. Ian finds it completely outrageous that this family successor is demanding her own younger sister give up on her goals. Confronted with this blatant intimidation, Elsie steps in, angrily asking if Delphine has lost her mind and declaring their group is going to win the entire festival. Smugly, Delphine replies she is only talking directly to her sister. Elsie starts screaming out a series of obvious facts so loudly that it genuinely hurts Ian's ears, yet watching his ally's sudden explosive outburst somehow calms him right down. Instead of arguing, right after this, Delphine coldly demands that all outsiders stay completely out of it, turning her sarcastic attention right back to Celia. Painful memories of childhood flood Celia's mind. She remembers the harsh times her sister threatened her with their mother's tragic fate if she was not useful to the family. The girl gets upset, recalling her past defeats, until Ian gently calls her name, telling her she is not a quiet child anymore, reassuring her she does not need to ever feel intimidated in this competition, encouraging Celia to stand up to her older sister and warn her that this time she will not back down. Delphine reacts with pure scorn, saying she is glad to hear that and challenging her to bring it on. Delphine's group starts to walk away, but Ian quickly calls out and throws the sharp dagger back, warning her she forgot her weapon. Suddenly, a boy steps in front of Delphine to defend her and deflects the blade right back at Ian, who easily catches it in the air effortlessly. When Ian asks if she wants her item back, Delphine replies he can keep the sharp dagger as a nice little reward for surviving the surprise attack. Ian keeps it, earning instant praise from a total stranger, who introduces himself as the Twin Axe, a fourth-year mercenary who is highly interested in him. As a fellow fighter, Omar grabs his axes, warning Ian he will show of his skill, immediately starting to juggle the weapons right in front of him. Ian doesn't understand the point of this show and gets annoyed. Ian quietly draws his own axe and attacks the mercenary without any hesitation. The heavy weapon clashes with Omar's, who is caught completely off guard and retreats quickly, leaving one axe spinning helplessly in the air. Omar comments that it is reckless to swing at someone outside the fight. Ian replies that he was also just showing off his skills. A girl from the crew asks Omar why he is so impressed by Ian, but the mercenary answers that he just wanted to show off. A guy named Furman suddenly appears, warning everyone that it is time to move out. Before leaving, Omar actually invites Ian to join a circus, leaving him completely baffled as the group walks away. Deline warns them that they will meet in the forest. Selene asks if they only came to start a fight, but Ian replies that he has no clue what goes on in Delphi's head. Before the competition gets underway, the host explains the rules of the hunting festival. The teams have until 8 at night to bring back a beast for the judges to evaluate, and everyone must gather at the forest entrance. For Ian, the only goal is defeating that horned monster to get rid of those annoying letters and secure the win. 3 hours after the start, Ian's group is wandering around, searching for prey. Elsie is losing her patience, wanting to capture a beast quickly so they do not lose their shot at victory. Selene agrees, pointing out they have only found small magic beasts, wondering aloud what they can do to escape disqualification. Ian replies that he is fully aware and wonders why that letter never mentioned the monster's exact location. Celia asks everyone to wait a moment because she cannot sense any presence nearby. Selene notices the forest is far too quiet, which immediately reminds Ian of the magic wolf incident. Elsie suddenly points ahead, sensing a massive wave of magic that must belong to a high-ranking magical beast, trusting his companions' instincts. Ian figures this is the exact horned monster he is hunting. The air shifts. You can practically feel the tension as they cluster together, covering all angles, keeping their weapons ready. They soon reach a field of slaughtered beasts, and Celia points out that even powerful magical creatures were butchered here. Wondering what did this, walking through the carnage, Ian assesses the situation, which looks identical to the scene involving Emma before. He initially thought the beast disemboweled its prey just to flex its power, but this looks far more sinister. Suddenly, a colossal one-horned magic beast, one of the parents of the wolf they killed earlier, looms right in front of them. The beast was ripping apart corpses just like its cub, but now it spots the group and lets out a deafening roar. Ian quickly warns everyone to brace themselves for a brutal showdown as the monster leaps, slamming down directly in front of the 4 youngsters. Ian orders them to stick to the plan and tells Elsie to trigger her support magic. She immediately buffs the team and casts a protective shield over everyone. They keep their guards up, carefully reading the beast's deadly attack patterns. Since there are barely any fallen trees around, they realize this monster has insane agility and speed. They resolve to strike only when a clear opening presents itself, and Ian lunges straight at the target. He tells Elsie that its weak point is the horn. She wonders how he knows that, but chooses to trust him anyway since there is no time to explain. Meanwhile, Celia charges ahead with her sword, aiming a horizontal slash, but her blade only grazes the beast's snout. It is unclear if the creature dodged or if she swung too early. The giant monster rears back on its hind legs and suddenly swipes right at Celia's head. But she quickly ducks to dodge. She believes she can keep up, but then suddenly sees a massive paw hangs right above her. Selene yells at her ally to stand firm. She swings her blade to parry the titan blow, clearing a path for Celia. From point-blank range, Celia unleashes a devastating burst of explosive magic. She fires a blazing beam of light straight from her blade, but the giant wolf is fast. It contorts its body in an impossible, sickening way to dodge the lethal strike. Its head stretches unnaturally far from its torso, snapping its jaws toward Selene. Ian finally understands how this monster moves so freely through the dense forest. He charges in to help, screaming at his ally to get out of the way. He hurls his sword, striking the beast right in the head and saving the girl. The monster snaps its body back together to reset its stance. It charges straight at Ian, who barely leaps aside to dodge the heavy impact. Predicting its fluid movements is impossible, and carrying the defense alone is brutal. Celia frantically asks for a plan, and Ian tells them to focus on Elsie. They must rely on her magic, while he draws the creature's aggro to buy time. Seeing another charge, Ian shoves Selene out of the path of danger. A massive explosion rips through the forest where they stood just seconds ago. Knocked to the dirt, Ian looks pretty hurt as his allies ask if he is all right. He groans, warning them to watch out for the beast's sudden, chaotic rushes. Elsie promises to summon the shield again, and Ian orders a full-scale assault. They must hit it with everything. Suddenly, the beast attacks all four of them. Celia lands a solid slash on its flank, forcing the wolf to lock onto her. It turns to devour her. Suddenly, Selene gets hit hard and slammed to the dirt. She lets out a painful scream, and Ian calls out her name in sheer panic. But there's no time to worry. Those glowing eyes are already locked back on him. Just then, Elsie shouts that her magic is fully charged and ready to fire. She needs them to pin the beast. Celia and Ian nod, charging forward together. Celia asks for cover as she slams her heavy sword right against the beast's skull. The impact blows her backward, but the opening is set. Ian moves in fast. He circles around, raises his weapon, and drives it straight into the creature's snout. It is a massive hit. The wolf is completely pinned to the ground by his blade. Ian screams for Elsie to target its horns and end this once and for all. She nods, telling them she is letting the spell loose, and they need to run. Intense power surges around her, and the massive spell blasts the target dead on. Ian is amazed by her magical power. Surely, no monster could survive a hit like that. But of course, things are never that simple, and you won't believe what happens next. When the smoke clears, the magic beast still stands, completely uninjured. Elsie panics, realizing her remaining mana pool is running dangerously low. She warns him the beast has lightning resistance. This is terrible news. It is an absolute nightmare, because lightning is the only magic she can use. With no choice left but to buy time, Ian desperately analyzes the enemy. He spots a tiny opening right between its thick horn and giant body. He tells her to cast it again, but she protests, asking if he heard her. She complains about the beast's resistance, but Ian just pulls out his axe. He points it straight at the wolf, surprising her. There is no time to argue. But before they can even act, something far worse suddenly happens. The beast opens its mouth, revealing a crackling ball of lightning forming inside. It can actually use magic. Ian falls into total despair watching this nightmare unfold. A violent blast follows. Trees shatter as the forest is devastated. A warning letter mentioned a possible ambush waiting right after they beat this beast. That is a problem for later. Right now, Ian screams out in pure panic. He tells Elsie to run, but she is completely frozen and about to take the direct hit. Celia lunges forward just in time, shoving Elsie aside as the deadly lightning magic fires. The blast erupts from the monster's maw. Celine steps up to intercept the follow-up attack. But the impact sends her flying back again, letting out a painful groan as she hits the dirt. Ian rushes the massive creature, desperate to draw its attention away from Celine. Readying his weapon, he screams to get the beast's eyes on him. "Look at me," he roars. The giant wolf snaps its head around, locking eyes with Ian. A brutal, high-speed clash begins. Ian notices the monster's deadly lightning magic is likely recharging. He throws everything he has into the distraction, keeping the pressure on. They must buy enough time for Elsie to prepare her next spell, but the wolf grows. Furious, sparks crackling around its body once more. Ian spots the danger immediately. No time to move. A sudden blast of lightning throws him backward. Leaning on his sword, he tries to stand, but his sprained ankle gives out. The wolf seizes the opening, charging forward to crush him into the dirt. The girls rush to block the strike, but is this really the end for our hero? Celia unleashes her secret technique, conjuring 3 glowing illusionary swords in the air. The phantom blades slam into the beast from 3 different angles. The monster twists its massive body to dodge, which accidentally saves Ian's life. He notices how incredibly agile the beast is. Her attack barely left a scratch. Celia frantically asks what to do next. Ian asks about Celine's condition. She is alive but completely paralyzed. Suddenly, Elsie shouts that her spell is ready. Ian tells Celia they need to block just one more charge from the beast. She nods and agrees to do it, asking what his actual plan is. "Trust me," he says. Celia nods, bracing for impact. She raises her blade to brace for the oncoming hit as the beast charges. She rushes forward to meet it, and their collision creates a massive shockwave. Her boots slide backward, yet she somehow holds the massive beast back. With a desperate heave, she parries upward, forcing the wolf's snout into the air. Right on cue, Ian leaps high above the creature, axe raised to strike. Sensing the threat, the wolf snaps its jaws shut right around his arm. Ian yells that he knew it would do that, aiming directly at its snout. With a brutal counter, he breaks free, launches himself higher, and draws his sword. This is his only shot to end this nightmare once and for all. Channeling all his strength, he drives the blade deep behind the monster's horn. He kicks off the creature's skull, vaulting backward to put some distance between them. The dying wolf tries to fire one last lightning blast, but Ian just smiles. "You are too slow," he whispers, as the wild lightning magic misfires. The blast detonates right on the beast's head, triggering an explosion near Elsie. Ian crashes hard to the dirt, bruised and battered from the shockwave. The shrinking wolf glares at him with fading eyes as it slowly limps closer. Ian asks how the creature feels about being completely burned to a crisp. With the beast defeated, Ian concludes that even lightning resistance could not save it. No creature survives melted internal organs, while Elsie asks if he was faking defeat. Pulling his sword out of the massive monster, Ian confirms the threat is over. He confirms this named beast is dead, securing the spoils needed to save Emma. Celia celebrates their hard-earned victory, and Ian finds her reaction incredibly cute. Since Selene seems perfectly fine and only he took damage, Ian is happy with this outcome. He congratulates everyone on a job well done. Elsie suggests taking a quick break, but Ian warns that danger is still close. Anyone lurking nearby could easily ambush them now. Remembering a warning from the letter, he quickly spins around. Suddenly, Almer appears right before Selene and drives his heavy axe into her shoulder. Ian screams out for his friend, but must immediately deflect a flying dagger targeted at him. Out of nowhere, Furman lunges forward, grabs Ian's arm, and slams him hard into the dirt. An approaching voice calls the situation a pity, ordering them all to freeze. The blue-haired girl holds Elsie hostage, while Almer pins a bleeding Selene to the ground. Furman holds Ian down, while Deline steps right in front of Celia. She taunts that they would have won the festival if they brought this beast back. But that is never going to happen now. Deline asks if Celia truly dares challenge her, especially now that her three close companions are completely helpless and pinned. Gripping her sword tightly, Celia firmly declares she will not back down anymore. Deline finds this response amusing. Suddenly, three rapid sword strikes slash forward. Celia barely manages to block the onslaught of her older sister's blade. But Deline delivers a brutal kick directly to her stomach, launching Celia backward. The older sister sneers that Celia still lacks the raw strength to defeat her. Struggling to stand, Celia agrees. But she vows she will not stand by and watch them hurt her friends. Golden aura flares as she declares she is no longer that scared child. Deline grows excited seeing her sister's growth, and their deadly clash begins. Celia leaps forward with a fierce strike, both sisters clashing and passing each other. A golden lion trail lingers. With her face scratched, Deline issues a warning. She will not expel Celia from the family as long as she remains leader. But she reveals Celia was completely defeated in this secret duel. Seeing Celia collapse, Ian yells out, asking if Deline went way too far. Furman tells him to shut his mouth before his wounds burst open again. Deline remarks that Furman should have just knocked the boy out immediately. And right here, Ian starts slipping back into his terrifying, psychopathic state. Standing near the defeated magic beast, Deline claims it is their own fault. They let their guard down, she lectures, and Ian weakly asks how she tracked them. Deline explains she placed tracking magic on the very dagger she gifted him. It worked even better than expected. Ian immediately starts blaming himself for this disaster. He looks at Elsie, Selene, and Celia, all beaten and bloodied. Furious at himself for accepting the cursed weapon, he slowly loses consciousness. Deline mocks him as his vision fades, but Ian can only wonder. What will happen next? Without those spoils, Emma is surely going to die. And Celia will never tolerate her family's cruelty. She might abandon them forever. That when a specific person finally appears, the world itself will end. Friends, family, and everyone he loves will die. His thoughts drift to the nightmare of carrying a loved one's body at the end of the world. He reflects that things would be completely different if he had Emma's potion, or if Celia could grow stronger after each victory. He must open his eyes right now so he does not lose those precious to him. Meanwhile, Delphine thinks she really went a bit too far, but believes that survival of the fittest is all that matters. Suddenly, a scream rings out behind her and a flying axe grazes her head. The weapon flies past Delphine, striking the magical beast right in the center of its head. Furman lies flat on the ground, covering his face with his hands as his broken nose bleeds uncontrollably, keeping him absolutely pinned to the ground. Stop the blood from choking him. Ian struggles back to his feet and after, wiping the warm blood from his mouth, grips his sword and dares Delphine to duel. Delphine finally recalls the flying axe she did not see coming and wonders how she missed it. Even with his battered body and spinning head, Ian feels plenty of energy to face her. Next, Omar steps in, threatening to make Ian pay for hurting Furman. In that same breath, Ian hurls his blade right at his opponent's feet, forcing a frantic dodge. Before Omar can even react, Ian grabs him by the arm, shatters his balance, and slams him hard into the dirt using a judo throw. Delphine watches in pure disbelief as Ian takes control. With Omar pinned, Ian rips his blade from the ground and stabs it into his opponent's shoulder without hesitation, mirroring what happened to Selene. The blue-haired girl panics and begins chanting, firing a flurry of freezing ice projectiles at Ian. With superior reflexes, he dodges the barrage and hurls his spinning sword right back. The mage manages to jump aside, but the flying weapon changes its path, slicing her heel. Delphine is absolutely shocked to see such a technique. Fallen, she screams in pure panic, begging Ian to stay back with that axe, but he silences her with one blunt blow, complaining that she was far too loud. Delphine breaks the silence, demanding to know how he redirected his blade like that, pointing out it is a closely guarded secret that outsiders can never learn. Ignoring her, Ian tells her he does not care and simply barks at her to fight. The 11th part of the letter reveals the moment she began falling deeply in love with him. Delphine demands a real answer, noting his tactical throw against Omar came from the Holy Kingdom, while the technique used against Aisha belongs to the legendary sword circle. Quietly, Ian recalls Celia's lessons as she used the surrounding woods to explain how every true action begins in absolute stillness and how they merge as one. Ian wonders why this memory returned as he tries to tell Delphine that she is mistaken. She sneers, accusing him of stealing sacred arts, illegally draws her blade, and vows to force the answers out of him. With her glowing aura fully activated, she lunges forward. Ian remains in his base form and is no match for her speed since he is missing a hand, letting her sword graze his neck. Delphine yells that he cannot win if he just keeps running. The same words Teen said before. Jumping backward, Ian suddenly hurls his blade. Delphine, far more focused than that night, warns that his play was too obvious. He presses forward anyway as the sword circles her, forcing her to deploy her deadly technique. Strikes out, tracing multiple paths like the sharp claws of a lion. Beams of bright magic erupt around Delphine, throwing Ian backward as she taunts him. She asks if he actually thinks he can defeat her after witnessing such power. Not a chance. He smiles with his colder personality, promising an easy victory. They stand completely still, sizing each other up in a tense moment of silence. Delphine finds it hard to believe he dodged her legendary golden lion technique. It should have been impossible, yet he stands there looking incredibly motivated. He is clearly outmatched, but she admits she wants to play with him further. With a sudden leap, she lunges forward, but Ian easily dodges every single blow. He keeps his distance, while more phantom lions strike slice through empty air. His sharp perception and agility annoy her as they fight on equal terms. Finally, she traps him against a tree and tells him his luck has run out. Hearing those words triggers a memory. He remembers Leto giving him crucial advice. He was told to use topology, a concept that suddenly makes perfect sense. He finally grasps the movement of stillness and gets ready to strike back. Charging forward, he hurls his battle axe directly at Delphine, who easily deflects it. He rushes in unarmed, prompting her to ask if he has lost his mind. But Ian is far from desperate. He simply knows his own body limits. He cannot physically bend his form like a beast, so he tries something else. To bypass her deadly technique unarmed, he must bend something far larger. And then watch closely, space itself bends, leaving Delphine wide-eyed with shock. He has slipped right through her defenses, appearing directly in front of her. She thinks she is safe, but Ian moves faster, closing the gap instantly. He presses her own dagger against her neck and claims his victory. Left with no options, Delphine admits her defeat, a historic first loss for her. It feels completely unreal. She prepares to withdraw, but pain suddenly strikes her. She looks down to find Ian has stabbed her. He whispers a cold warning. This is only the beginning, he tells her. Only the strong survive here. Too late, her arm goes limp, her sword slipping from her numb fingers. She demands to know his goal, calling this ruthless attack shameful. He ignores her entirely, striking her other arm to settle a personal debt. Ian coldly demands that she apologize for what she did to Celia. Delphine tries to refuse, but Ian raises his axe with a deadly glare. He makes his terms clear: apologize now, or this is where she dies. She can see the raw intent in his eyes. Resistance is completely impossible. With both arms crippled, she asks if he expects her to beg. Ian simply replies that this is nothing more than a matter of survival. Having no choice, Delphine apologizes to everyone for her ambush and robbery attempt. She also admits to Celia that she was behind the malicious rumors. She looks up, asking if that is enough, but his axe remains raised. He wants to ensure her powerful family will not try to seek revenge. If they do, he promises to feed her directly to the magical beasts. Delphine nods, thoroughly terrified. Later, a farewell letter is sent to him. The letter says she will dream of him right as the festival ends. Now it is time to announce this year's victors. But news of her team evacuating throws this entire victory into major question. The announcer declares that none of the 500 students came close. Only the true champions who survived a massive danger actually matter now. As the beast is shown, the host thanks them for neutralizing it. He proudly announces the name of Elsie Rianella, a prodigy from the 4th-year Magic Division. Selene and Celia are called up next, while the Saint watches. She remembers telling their leader to forfeit, but Ian steps up anyway. As their reward, the group of 4 wins a highly coveted bottle of dragon blood. This triggers massive envy and absolute awe throughout the entire crowd. Selling it would make them rich, but Ian has a much bigger plan in mind. He wants to offer the beast to save Emma. Luckily, Elsie is rich. She does not need the gold at all, while Celia and Selene agree to trust him. They trust his judgment completely, feeling the dragon blood is more than enough. Ian calls the Saint right over, asking if this offering is enough to cure his friend. The crowd gasps as gorgeous fireworks light up. The Saint promises that God will surely reward him, leaving Ian deeply happy. Once the festival finally ends, she explains that Emma's treatment will start tomorrow evening. But she warns him that his arm has sustained permanent damage. He feels his reflexes are shot, but accepts his fate gladly. Saving his friend was worth any physical price he had to pay. Feeling a bit envious of his deep devotion, the Saint grabs his arm. Demanding a promise of absolute secrecy, she uses a holy orb to heal him. He freaks out over using such a valuable treasure, but she just smiles. "It is our little secret," she whispers, and he can only nod along. She sends him off to the party and watches him walk away. At the banquet, Ian admits he is still adjusting to his team. He questions why his drunk friend Leto is at the winner's table. But Leto refuses to budge, claiming he is part of the inner circle. Suddenly, Celia storms over and demands they speak in private right now. They walk away together for a chat, completely unaware of Selene's watchful gaze. Ian asks if she is finally feeling better, but Celia insists she did nothing. She credits him for defeating Delphine, but Ian praises her growth. She softly asks if her nightmares will finally stop, and Ian answers honestly. He promises she will never have to face that crippling anxiety alone. Blushing deeply, she musters all her courage to tell him something. Talk about tension. Is Ian finally getting a real romantic confession? Instead, she just yells out her gratitude, leaving him pretty frustrated and disappointed. He sighs, realizing this is just how she is. Still, they are close. As she blushes and thanks him, Ian gently puts a beautiful necklace around her. He explains he bought this piece because it reminded him of her. The stunning pendant features a gorgeous sepia flower designed to last forever. He hopes the gift will bring her peace, though he is totally embarrassed. Celia smiles happily at the gift, while a jealous Selene listens from hiding. From the shadows, Selene grinds her teeth. Back inside, Leto asks if they are officially dating. Leto notices how close the Saint is, asking if she likes him, making Ian curse. He snaps at Leto to stop joking, but Leto stays dead serious, warning him. Every girl at the academy will fall hard if Ian keeps acting like that. Calling his friends absolute idiots, Ian says goodbye and heads to his room. Alone in bed, he concludes only Celia could be Sepia, wondering if they will ever become lovers. Drunk and tired, Ian falls asleep, pondering how he should treat her now. Dreaming, he sees himself entering a tent in the barren wasteland. She welcomes him warmly, and Ian calls it an honor meeting. Her again, asking about the grim situation on the Eastern Front. She explains they are at their limit, with depleting supplies and rising enemies. Ian reports that other battlefronts are also falling apart, but he is trying. He does whatever he can. Curious, he looks where she points, revealing a ruined wasteland of shattered trees and blood. She warns that delirium is coming. He desperately asks what that even means, knowing they cannot take any more. Suddenly, the boy wakes up startled, getting used to this recurring nightmare. He figures he just drank too much, heading over to the table for some cool water, but as he grabs the bottle for his hangover, something catches his eye. A brand new letter from the future is waiting. On top of that, the first letter had a note warning that Sepia was jealous of some capital cat. Apparently, a pet might steal Ian's attention. Now he must face what comes next. He wonders if an even more terrifying threat is waiting to show itself. It is time to brace himself for whatever chaotic path lies ahead. Reading the letter, Ian wonders if another disaster is brewing, finding out that right after the hunting festival, they will visit a local orphanage. Spotting the name of a woman named Lucia, he wonders what kind of bizarre future is waiting. Suddenly, he notices the calendar pages turned themselves. That means his future self took over again, wiping his recent memory. Finding an empty vial, Ian realizes his alter ego drank the rare dragon blood. His mana feels incredibly powerful now, and he guesses Emma has finally woken up. Hoping for answers, he heads to see the saint. Along the way, Ian notices that nobody is staring, meaning things went smoothly, but he was dead wrong. Out of nowhere, he gets ambushed, desperately trying to defend himself. He barely avoids a critical blow. The saint's bodyguard sneers at him, noting he is back to his usual weak self, confirming things went wrong. Soon after, he finally meets with the saint, and she looks absolutely furious. Ian immediately spots unmistakable signs of a violent struggle scattered around the room. She demands to know if Ian truly forgot everything that happened last week. He insists he is telling the absolute truth about his amnesia, but his desperate words are not working. She asks if she should just ignore his excuses and hand over the secret documents, with absolutely no idea what she means. Ian watches her present the requested list of struggling orphanages. He has zero memory of asking for this, but since the future letter warned him about those orphanages, he just replies that he is still figuring out his plan. The saint instantly concludes that he is playing dumb, snapping that her kindness was met with complete contempt. She immediately jumped to conclusions. Yam wondered what on earth he did to make the saint act like this. Urine suggests he was possessed, especially since his eyes looked totally different. A sudden memory loss would explain the whole situation. Yam asks what he did. Urine fires back, asking if he doesn't remember hurting her shoulder. He denies it, but the bodyguard recalls the past. She explains that before they arrived, the whole atmosphere was tense. The saint actually apologized back then for not meeting him completely alone, claiming she needed her bodyguard close by. Then Yam asked her to investigate some struggling local orphanages. Though they had Holy Nation support, the saint refused to share top-secret files. Then Yam asked about Archbishop Indel instead, claiming he knew shadow groups were actively trying to overthrow him. He offered to ignore the plot if she handed over the orphanage files. Yer knew the saint used the Archbishop's sins to force him out. If this secret leaked, their entire plot was ruined. Yer knew she had to strike fast, but Yam saw her coming. He challenged the bodyguard to an immediate duel, and she lunged first, but Yam dodged like lightning, slipping behind her to almost end her with his axe the moment she left an opening. The saint buffed her bodyguard with holy energy, making urine lightning fast, ready to win, but you wouldn't believe how easily Yam overpowered her. He slammed her shoulder hard, leaving her utterly shocked by his strength. Urine collapsed, completely broken and taken out by a single blow. With her guard down, the saint lunged into close combat, but Yam dodged effortlessly. Urine watched closely, realizing he didn't look shocked at all. To see the saint use their secret martial arts, he knew their style. Seconds later, Yam completely pinned the saint down, preparing a counterattack. He used moon reversal to slam her into the dirt. The bodyguard screamed that he wouldn't survive hurting the saint, but the boy coldly told her to keep her mouth shut if she wanted her master alive. The gasping saint demanded to know who he really was. Yam replied he was Yam Peruz. Yuran whispered that he just used a hidden Holy Nation martial art, something an outsider could never learn. The saint agreed, boasting she could easily erase any noble in the empire. She demanded the truth. Instead, Yam flared his massive aura and shocked her by revealing the dragon script. Yurin panicked, wondering if he had imperial blood, since only royals could possess that kind of power. Yam noted things would be much easier if she had just given him the requested files, but she chose to make this difficult. She spat back that she never helps people who attack her. Yam made it clear she had zero choice, threatening to burn the room. Down with her in it, trapped, the saint finally agreed to cooperate, as long as he stayed away from her war with the archbishop. They struck a deal. Yam walked over, snatched his axe back from Yurin, and warned the saint not to make things any more embarrassing. He left. She should just obey, no complaints. Back in the present hour, Hiro gets incredibly embarrassed hearing this story. Yor explains that the Yam in front of her is completely different from the attacker, believing he was possessed. She holds no grudge against the real Yam. With that, the bodyguard leaves. He gives no clues about Emma leaving our hero clueless. He must save that mystery and focus on the orphanage mission. First, he decides to check out the school mission. Bored seeing how carefully everyone is choosing tasks to avoid any failures, grades do not matter to him. He is fine taking jobs nobody else wants, but today, he needs an orphanage mission. In the east, finding the document, Yam notes its low difficulty, even though the client mentions ambushes and monster nests. He wants the same team from the festival, but mixed-year squads are banned from these field missions. He is stuck on who to bring. Suddenly, right in the crowd, someone grabs his arm. It is his close friend Leto. Yam asks why he is being dragged away. Then Leto pins him against a wall. Looks straight into his eyes. This is the real Yam. Our hero asks if there is some other Yam. Leto nods, concluding that his friend loses his memories during these possessions. Yam remembers Yor saying something similar, asking what exactly happened to trigger this whole realization. Leto explains that he spoke with a future version of Yam, who took over while present Yam slept. A flashback reveals how the intruder insisted he was Yam Peruz, but Leto knew this was not the friend he grew up with. The stranger claimed to be from the future, proving it by correctly answering questions only the real Yam would know, like when Selene stopped wetting her bed. Leto realized it. The imposter was telling the absolute truth. In time travel, furious, Leto demanded to know the traveler's ultimate intentions, learning how this mind-swapping worked. But when Leto tried to fight the future Yam, easily pinned him down. No contest. That his time in this body was extremely limited. He explained he had to finish a critical mission without any interruptions, releasing his grip and begging him not to interfere, but Leto refused to let a stranger possess his friend. Leto demanded to know why he traveled back. The future Yam admitted he had failed terribly. He had to return and fix his massive mistakes. Back now, our hero absorbs all of this wild info. Leto shares a crazy theory about their timelines, comparing the traveler's tragic origin to a raging forest fire. He explains that by stopping the disaster, our current Yam can live in peace, while the future self returns to his own ruined timeline. Two paths share the same past but walk toward completely different futures. However, our hero points out a flaw. The letter described a peaceful future. Leto suggests that the message likely came from a timeline that was already altered. As Yam struggles to wrap his head around three separate realities, Leto reveals that the future version headed straight into the forest after their talk and simply vanished. Was that the same forest where Emma was hiding? And Leto confirms it, adding that the girl has already been discharged. A bit later, Yam heads straight over to visit the young girl and finally finds her awake, sitting by her side. He apologizes for not dropping by sooner, but Emma reveals they actually met right after her recovery. Apparently, during that first meeting, Yam made a pretty weird request, asking her to thank him only when they met next, so Emma happily thanks him now, offering her full services as the Peruz house alchemist to pay off her debt, but Yam declines, saying he only wants her to live normally, brew medicine, save up for the academy, and help her father. Emma just giggles, warning him that his overly pure heart will get him totally played by some girl. After promising to take his advice, she offers him some medicine. That's when Yam asks if it is possible to send a soul through space and time, just like they once debated sending letters straight into the future. Emma warns him that if that is even possible, there are only two real explanations, either the total extinction of mankind or the complete demise of Delphair. Emma explains that if the world was ending, The divine god Rs would lose his strength, and with Delphair gone, anyone could steal that space-time magic. Yam quickly realizes his future self indeed. Escaped from a completely ruined timeline, suddenly Emma changes the heavy subject. To give him a parting gift, Yam insists he has plenty of potions already. But she fiercely argues he must always keep some close at hand. Emma then mentions that a few days ago, Delphair was found bleeding out in the southern forest. She barely survived, only pulling through because someone found her and used these exact potions. Emma even tried to visit the injured warrior, but apparently not. Even her top assistants are allowed anywhere near her room. Hearing this, Yam instantly decides to investigate. After packing up his brand new batch of medicine, he leaves, deeply wondering how much of this mess traces back to his future self. The very next day, Yam heads out, and trust me, things are about to get wild. He tries to meet Delphair, but she refuses until he sends a single note. The proud warrior receives a warning: meet Yam Peruse, or prepare to get hurt again. She has no choice but to agree, while Yam tries to pry information from her. But Delphair glares at him, snapping that she is only broken like this because of his actions. She bitterly asks if he came just to mock her. Yam doesn't deny it, admitting his future self was indeed her brutal attacker. Though not directly to blame, guilt weighs on him, so he asks if she hurts. Delphair just stares back, completely baffled, but Yam quickly loses his sympathy, thinking she shouldn't play the tragic heroine. He remembers how easily her sister, Yordina, cries just speaking of their mother, yet Delphair weaponized that grief cold-heartedly. Bullying her without a shred of remorse, he bluntly tells her to stop acting like a victim over a minor beating. Shaking with fear, Delphair begs him not to strike her down again, terrified he is there to punish her. Instead, Yam tosses her scroll, asking if she is ready for a field mission. Totally lost, she nods. Clueless about his motives, Yam casually explains he's going to reform her toxic attitude through mandatory volunteer work, giving her 1 week to heal up first. As he walks out, our main character realizes that while he didn't uncover much about the future, he just drafted the realm's strongest swordswoman as his ally. 1 week later, fully packed and ready, he heads straight to the travel portal for the main. Deep in the continental interior lies their target, the Guilford orphanage, which sits far from civilization, forcing him to rent a horse for a grueling day-and-a-half journey. He reached out to Elsie Rianella for backup, but since she and Delurum have other urgent matters to handle first, they will meet him at the orphanage later. Yam knows traveling solo is just the price he pays to recruit powerful allies, but before stepping through the teleportation gate, he is confronted by the Saint, who demands to know his business. Yam can tell she still holds a petty grudge when she snidely remarks that his lonely journey is just him reaping what he sowed. He calmly explains that his companions are simply running late, then fires back that she only has a single partner. Proving her own attitude is pretty toxic too. Offended, the Saint snaps back immediately, claiming she cannot wander around with strangers and is only doing volunteer work. Yurin notices the cold tension and politely asks Yam where he is traveling. The protagonist replies that his current assignment lies at the Guilford orphanage, and to his surprise, Yurin reveals that they are bound for the exact same destination, proposing they travel together. Though the Saint is clearly disgusted by the suggestion, she reluctantly agrees to it. If it is the will of their celestial god, Yam asks what that even means, and she coldly responds that a mere thug like him could never comprehend holy teachings, since her sacred duty is to obey her god without a second thought. Yam suddenly realizes that his future self once said those exact words to her, recognizing that this phrasing is no random coincidence. He remembers how he initially dismissed everything as a prank. Yet Emma's ambush and the festival played out exactly as predicted, saving him from disaster. He now knows for certain that these mysterious letters are sent from the future to guide him in preventing the end of the world. Driven by this realization, he resolves to follow the instructions precisely and complete this mission to stop the ultimate catastrophe. Sometime later, Yam finds himself heavily injured on the ground, barely holding on. He only knows he was fighting a beast, believing he had barely managed to survive. Suddenly, the monster reappears right before his eyes, catching him completely off guard. He genuinely believed the battle was won, but with no other choice left, he steals his resolve. Unleashing every ounce of his remaining power, Yam strikes back, refusing to let himself be defeated. He believes he already knows the outcome because those future letters predicted everything. Rewinding to a few days prior, Yam had finally arrived at the orphanage, welcomed warmly by Guilford. The director, who expressed immense gratitude and served them tea, admitted his surprise at receiving not just a young scholar but a high-ranking saint, explaining her motives. She proudly declares that no corner of the world is beyond the grace of her God. In the same breath, she insults Yam, calling him arrogant and violent compared to herself. Wondering what motivated him to accept, before answering, Yam simply asks if this mission is really just a simple, run-of-the-mill magic beast hunt. Guilford explains that months ago, while walking a restless child through the garden at night, they were ambushed by a massive ape-like monster that snatched the child away. Since then, the monster returns monthly to kidnap another helpless orphan. With the creature scheduled to strike again soon, the director begs them for help, prompting the saint to guarantee she will solve the problem, requesting more information on the target. Once they step out of the office, she drops her arrogant act and asks Yam if he picked up on the same red flags she did. Yam nods, confirming that this beast is no ordinary monster, given its precise, monthly attacks and deliberate targeting of the children. It hunts a single target without killing its prey, marking it as a superior monster. Highly intelligent, Yam urgently suggests requesting Holy Kingdom backup. Fighting it alone is absolute suicide, but the saint instantly shuts his idea down. No proof of a greater threat means no extra help for minor issues. Hearing this, Yam figures Delphi and Elsie's arrival will be enough. But hope dies fast. The absolute second they arrive at the orphanage, Elsie refuses to help. Dulurum backs down as well, claiming her skills are wasted here. Yam tries persuasion. They must cooperate for the kingdom's safety. He immediately orders a strict guard rotation around the entire area to wait for them. Since they can only wait, he instructs the saint to look after the orphanage kids. But her bitter reaction makes him stop, prompting him to ask what is wrong. She scoffs, claiming Yam only gets results by being aggressive. Classic, she complains constantly, while he just wants results. While the others stay safe inside the orphanage, Yam continuously watches the perimeter alone. 3 days pass, absolutely nothing happens, but his guard stays up. An attack could strike at any moment, so he decides to swap guard shifts. Heading inside, Yam looks for Elsie. She hasn't shown up. Inside, he finds her completely overwhelmed by kids, relying on strange magical runes to cope. Taking her outside, he calmly tells the girl to be patient. Elsie snaps back, shouting that he knows absolutely nothing about her past or life. She rejects his helpful advice and turns down his help. Yam warns her anyway, telling her to always keep a flashlight on in the dark. She insists she can handle it, just as a shadow approaches. And of course, that is the exact second the monster lunges straight for the girl. Yam lunges to intercept, but his blade cannot reach the girl in time. The creature snatches Elsie, dragging her off while Yam immediately sprints after them in pursuit. Its insane speed stuns him, but he forces his mind to focus. Forcing himself to stay calm, he concentrates his sharp senses to locate his captured ally. He feels it, the creature dragged her deep into the forest. Strangely, he notices she was dropped along the way, leaving him wondering about its goal. Meanwhile, Elsie wakes up deep in the cold, silent woods, realizing she had blacked out. Traumatic memories of a dark past had distracted her, causing her to freeze. Furious and ready for revenge, she wants to track down the beast and make it pay. But there is a catch: multiple monsters are closing in fast. She gathers her inner magical power, desperately preparing to strike back before they reach her. She conjures a magical barrier, but a creature still manages to snatch her. Blasting the creature back with raw force, she safely encases herself inside a heavy defensive dome. Unleashing a lightning field, she strikes the oncoming beasts head-on. Her barrier shatters, forcing a direct attack, but she notices the monsters keep rising back up. High magic resistance, these things simply refuse to stay down. Just as another monster attempts a lethal ambush from behind, Yam arrives to block the blow. "Run," Yam commands, as Elsie asks why they are fleeing. Yam quickly explains that these terrifying beasts hold a massive terrain advantage in the forest. They are outnumbered, making it too easy to get surrounded. The smaller beasts won't leave the forest. Out there, they are safe. He only had to deal with the massive beast, nearing the exit, though. Yam spots the giant creature as it tries to capture Elsie again. Luckily, he protects her this time, but Yam realizes this enemy is incredibly fast for its bulk. Knowing this fight will be tough, he tells Elsie to run for backup while he distracts it, but the monster swiftly disarms him with a heavy strike, making Yam realize this creature can actually wield aura. He tries to swing his axe, only to get disarmed again by its clever tactics. Elsie shouts that she is going to signal the others, turning herself into a prime target. Still, she manages to fire off a bright lightning bolt just in time, barely dodging a counterattack. She only manages to escape because Yam leaps in front, taking the heavy hit directly, even after getting slammed. Talk about pure courage. Yam fiercely warns the beast to run before his allies arrive. Hearing this, the monster actually retreats into the shadows. Yam asks if Elsie is hurt. She says she is fine, pleading with him to worry about himself. With that, Yam loses all strength and collapses to the ground. Elsie desperately tries to shake him awake, completely panicking. Sometime later, Yam falls into another strange dream. He sees the saint drinking alcohol and remarks how unusual this is. She admits she started recently, unable to face everything sober anymore. Yam says she must finally understand how Sophia feels, but the saint warns him not to bring up other women during a moment like this. The saint explains she used to be incredibly proud of her power, a rare gift that saved people without hurting anyone. Now, there is nothing she can do with her skills. Yam tells her not to worry, since every front is a mess. And the Holy Kingdom decided to abandon the city. She sadly concludes that this disaster happened because the previous saint died, a tragedy that would have been avoided if she had resolved the orphanage crisis. Now they have nothing left to do but obey without resisting. Suddenly, Yam wakes up and realizes he just had another one of his strange future visions. At that moment, the saint notices he is finally awake. She explains that everyone rushed to the forest after hearing Elsie's thunder and that he barely made it out alive. The saint says the director set up a room, but healing him was extremely hard due to the corrupting demonic energy that they still need to clear out. Yam regrets causing so much trouble, though he admits he is lucky to have a saint around. Dismissing his flattery, she asks him to explain exactly what happened in the forest. Yam explains that the creature that attacked him is a pack leader and there are many more of them scattered throughout the area. He realizes that the larger beast did the exact same thing to the children that it tried with Elsie, dragging her deep into the forest to be targeted by the others. Yam also reports that the creature used powerful aura to fight, a concept the saint knows absolutely nothing about, as she has never heard of monsters possessing that ability. Yam admits he is not entirely sure since everything happened so fast, but he knows something much bigger is going on. Meanwhile, Elsie sweeps the dusty orphanage floor, consumed by guilt that Yam almost died protecting her. Suddenly, a child comes over to announce that Yam is finally awake. She immediately rushes to his room. She is lost for words, completely drowning in guilt because her family always looked down on her. They treated her coldly. She believed absolutely nobody cared about her existence. Why did Yam risk everything just to save her? She simply cannot understand his actions. Yam greets her with a warm, relieved smile, glad to see she is completely unharmed. Elsie snaps back, arguing that he almost died for a stupid reason and shouldn't worry about others. Why risk everything? Yam shrugs, admitting he didn't have any deep reasons at all. He just wanted to rescue a friend in danger, but she stubbornly calls him a complete idiot. She storms out, but deep down, she absolutely loved hearing those gentle words. She leaves without even saying thank you, but Yam is just glad she is completely safe. He asks the saint if they can finally call for some reinforcements now. The entire playing field has completely changed now. She explains they need proof, but the Holy Cavalry isn't their only choice. She already sent word about his condition, meaning reinforcements should be arriving at any moment now. Speak of the devil, Yam's loyal companions burst through the door. Hearing the news, they rushed right over, prompting the saint to quietly slip out of the room. Alone now, Yordina admits she was sick with worry over the attack. Yam apologizes sincerely, feeling incredibly grateful to have loyal allies he can truly rely on. He will need their help. In his head, he calculates their current forces. He has 2 highly skilled Yordina swordsmen and a long-range support mage at his disposal. Add in their tracking expert, and Yam is confident they can solve this. Together, they can uncover the forest secrets and end the monster's threat once and for all. But the girls immediately object. Yordina warns that the forest is too dangerous. Selene and Leto immediately object, insisting that Yam must return to the city to recover. Sensing their worry, Yam explains that they do not have much time. If they don't stop this monster, a disaster far worse than the festival will surely happen. Knowing how stubborn he gets when acting alone, the group finally agrees. The group begins searching, pushing deep into the forest, but find absolutely nothing at all. Even after looking deep into the area, they find absolutely nothing. Leto wonders if the creature fled, but Yam knows this beast is far too relentless. It won't simply back down just because they are hunting it. Selene points out that they have been searching for days now without finding a single trace. Yam suddenly realizes that he hasn't joined the physical search yet. Could the beast be waiting specifically for him? The very next day, he joins them. He admits to Delurum that his dark energy hasn't been purified. The monster failed in its first surprise attack and has completely vanished from the area. He must act as bait to draw it out, quite a reckless gamble, honestly. He brought the mage along, fully trusting her to cover his back in a fight. Delurum finds it ironic. The man who beat her now wants protection. She cannot understand his mindset at all, but there is no time to think now. Yam finds suspicious tracks, but Delurum suddenly tells him to shut up. A heavy power suddenly emerges, revealing several hidden enemies who are trying to surround him. Though the leader stays hidden, Yam relies on his sharp instincts to defend. Enhanced by dragon blood, he barely evades a surprise attack coming from above. They try to grab his sword, but Delurum quickly leaps into the fray to help. She warns him to stay focused, and Yam nods, ready to fight. Backs, he figures that having allies and extra power makes up for his slow recovery. Swinging his sword and axe, he slices through the beasts attacking from every side, using swift reflexes to ensure not a single beast escapes. He wipes them out. After making sure Delirium is safe, he suggests gathering the bodies to examine them, then selling the rest to support the struggling orphanage. The mage urges him to hurry. This place creeps her out. Right after that, the young warrior notices that one of the beasts actually survived and is trying to flee. He realizes this creature was not simply hunting, but was rushing toward a specific destination. Now, Yam wants to uncover their true goal as quickly as possible. Later, back at the orphanage, Urine collects the piles of carcasses and asks if Yam truly intends to donate all the proceeds to the orphanage. The protagonist nods. Yes, he explains, donations have been dropping since the disappearances began. Hearing this, Urine promises to handle the sales details, asking Yam to protect the saint while he is away. The moment they are alone, the saint immediately scolds him for sneaking out. She tells Yam he was reckless, thinking it was a good idea to fight right after being severely wounded. Meanwhile, Celia and Yordina spot them talking, teasing them about getting too close. Flustered, the saint snaps she is only lecturing him, telling Yordina to stop teasing. Conclusions. Sensing the heavy tension, Leto steps in to deliver some important news. After running the data, he has made a chilling conclusion. They are actually dealing with a demon, and things just got real. Later on, Guilford, the orphanage director, warmly thanks Yam for the donation. The young man mentions he heard the elder was once a legendary beast hunter. Guilford sighs that those glory days are gone, as he can barely walk now. Even so, Yam explains he desperately needs the advice of a veteran hunter because he believes the target shows high intelligence. It is guarding something specific, meaning a demon is controlling these monsters. Guilford nods, bringing up an old legend about a demon lurking within the great sea of trees. Our clever researcher recalls the tales, noting that the threat behaves exactly like a vampire, asking if the old hunter ever pursued it. The old man explains that the route was brutal, crawling with vicious magical beasts and toxic plants. The corruptive energy of the forest slowly warped his allies' minds, driving them to fight each other until everyone lay dead, leaving him as the sole survivor. Absolutely heartbreaking, filled with grief and terror, Guilford fled the woods and now begs Yam to do the same before it is too late, but our hero refuses to back down, pointing out that Elsie nearly died fighting them and that the innocent kids remain in grave danger. He insists they must gather hard proof of demon activity to summon official reinforcement. Realizing he cannot sway the boy, Guilford warns him to tread lightly. Yam decides to split their forces to scour more of the woods and locate the demon's hidden lair. He intends to remain at the orphanage to heal his wounds alongside the saint and Leto, while the rest hunt for clues to summon the holy knights. The saint cautions him that reinforcements will take up to 2 weeks to arrive. Yam thinks that is way too long, but the scientist points out how dangerous it actually is. To fight the demon, reminding him they almost lost two of their own. Guilford agrees that waiting for backup is definitely the smartest move once they find proof. Yam accepts the deal, but warns he won't sit around doing absolutely nothing. Now get this, later that night, Yam keeps watch, deeply bothered by those demon stories. He hopes nothing goes wrong, but then he senses it. Danger is closing in fast. He strikes immediately. His blade stops completely short when he realizes his target isn't some vicious demon at all. Guilford barely blocks the blow in time, urging the incredibly tense young fighter to calm down. Staring at the old hunter, Yam wonders what that chilling presence actually was. He apologizes for the attack, mistaking him. Guilford sees how wound up the boy is and throws out a light joke. He says he was almost sent to the afterlife, adding that Yam reminds him of his own wild, completely unstoppable days as a reckless young mercenary fighting with allies. Those glory days are gone, but Guilford offers to teach him a counterattack. A secret technique designed to kill demons. Yam questions if the old man is even physically fit enough to train. Guilford laughs, pointing out he just dodged a lethal strike with absolutely no issue at all. Since it is dark, the hunter tells him to come back tomorrow morning. Yam walks away certain the old man is still hiding some serious power. The next day, training begins, and Yam quickly realizes something that absolutely blows his mind. Guilford is moving way faster than any retired hunter should be able to. When asked, Yam praises the old man's incredibly precise and deadly swordsmanship. He eagerly asks for the name of this move, and Guilford smiles proudly at him. It is absolute rupture, which demands moving with absolutely everything you have. Yam vows to practice nonstop until he has the deadly technique fully mastered. Suddenly, the saint halts training, noticing he is literally bleeding. She scolds him for overexertion, furious that he never listens to her. She immediately pulls him inside, while a suspicious stranger approaches Guilford outside. The old hunter flinches, visibly startled by this stranger's sudden presence. Indoors, the saint demands to know why he is constantly pushing his body to total ruin. He claims it is to protect the orphans, but she sees right through him. She knows he does not actually care about these children at all. Yam calls out her coldness, but she snaps back that he only cares about himself. Still, she does not ask for excuses, just less work to heal him. Yam realizes she still holds a massive grudge against him. Any hope of them understanding each other is completely gone. Moments later, a little girl approaches him. She softly asks if he is angry, but he explains he is just in pain. The kid wants help tying her hair, but Yam has absolutely no idea how to do it. He promises to find someone who can help her and heads out. Nearby, he spots the orphanage director talking to that mysterious guest. Guilford introduces the man as Mitram, a key helper since the very founding of this place. Yam notices the old teacher is sweating and can barely stand. He says he is fine and leaves, leaving Yam staring curiously at Mitram. Strange, he feels like he has seen him before. Several days quickly pass. No attacks happen, allowing him to fully recover. Then urine finally returns. Urine brings fresh money and supplies. Meanwhile, Leto gathers critical data. They investigate these suspicious locations and find a highly promising cave. Yam believes it is their hideout, and Delphim quickly backs him up. He thinks it could be a nest, judging by the beasts roaming nearby. The young man decides to join the hunt, telling everyone to prepare. Leaving must wait until sunrise. Suddenly, loud screams ring out, sending Yam running. He finds the children in tears. They cry that a monster snatched Lin. This shocks our hero. Until now, the beast had only hunted at night. Yet here it was, actually stealing a helpless child in broad daylight. Yam demands they head to the cave immediately, but Delphim wants a plan. He argues that Lin is in extreme danger and they cannot wait. She might die if they hesitate. The saint warns against risking the students. Searching for an orphan could bring disaster. Leto also warns against acting blindly. They need to scout the cave first to avoid casualties. A sunset mission keeps them safe. Later, the young man preps his gear. As he organizes his potions, Leto hands him a rare fire magic scroll. Most beasts absolutely fear fire. Leto asks him to use it wisely and survive. Everyone must return safely with Selin. Guilford also urges heavy caution today. He reminds the young man that he has already caused enough trouble. Cruel as it sounds, the orphan has no family to mourn her. Yam must prioritize the lives of his students if things turn ugly. Our hero understands the cold logic, but vows to bring her back. He warns the squad that they are only looking for demonic proof. They must rescue any survivors, but their own lives come first. Tracking the beast, they are suddenly ambushed by creatures guarding the path. They fight fiercely to clear the way, quickly bringing the monsters down. Our protagonist realizes these beasts were just the outer security force. The real danger waits inside, but he decides to push forward anyway. Stepping inside, Delphim notices the cave was built with deliberate strategy. Yam spots Zero traps in the shallow cavern. It is almost too easy. The monster is so confident that it is just waiting for them. Deep inside, they stumble upon a massive cocoon sprouting a bizarre mass. Using an old text, Urin identifies it as an ancient demonic flesh nest. Our hero wonders what a mythical legend is doing in this wasteland. The saint urgently suggests retreating since they already have their proof. With a demon confirmed, the little girl is likely already dead. Yam agrees that calling for backup is their smartest move right now. But suddenly, the writhing flesh of the cocoon begins crawling toward them. Elsie realizes it is a trap set to trigger the moment they escape. That explains why there were no guards. Suddenly, a beast lunges at Yam. He barely dodges, screaming for everyone to run for their lives. As he stabs the monster, it sprays a deadly wave of acidic poison. His friends panic, but he stands tall, ready to hold the line. He holds off the enemies so the others can escape. Facing them alone, Yam stands his ground. He quickly realizes these giant flesh balls are no match for a legendary warrior. Oddly enough, the other monsters in the area are holding back their attacks. Then he spots one sphere still squirming, only to find Lin trapped deep inside. She is begging for help, but Yam knows he cannot save her in time. Instead, he puts an end to her agony, hoping her soul finds some peace. Right after, even while wide awake, vivid memories of his future flood his mind. In this vision, a close ally claims she found a way to save the corrupted. She wants to turn the monsters back to normal, but Yam shuts her down. He warns her that those people are dead, and this cruel world has no room for kindness. The girl refuses to listen and leaves to try anyway, leaving him watching her go. Yam only hopes she survives her impossible task, but soon their paths cross again. He finds her on the brink of death, proving his warning about her soft heart. Yet she just laughs, making him ask if she still feels happy despite failing. With no reply, Yam is left questioning her strange, peaceful attitude. Before her final breath, he vows to hunt down every single enemy himself. Back in the present, a concerned Selene wonders why Yam is still inside. Just then, Elsie spots him stepping out of the dark, gloomy cave. He is carrying the lifeless body of the girl who was taken from them. Yam coldly explains that this is the fate awaiting all captured children. Elsie gasps, realizing she narrowly avoided being turned into one of those flesh balls. Yam demands to know if the saint can summon the holy knights immediately. She warns him she can only call upon the closest local temples for now. Yam orders her to act now. His allies flinch at his icy tone. The saint remembers the last time he looked this terrifying, facing her bodyguard. Now the young warrior declares he will personally end the suffering of the others. As the distress call goes out, Yam takes a moment to think. Seeing Lin's tragic fate unlocked those future memories and granted him a new weapon. He can now wield the powerful golden lion sword. He delivers some grim news. Their current hideout is no longer safe after provoking the demons nearby. The orphanage is now a target, meaning they must escape with the little ones. Delirium asks where they should go. The saint offers a potential solution. She suggests a nearby village, since the temple cannot house everyone. They must move in groups, so she tells Urin to prepare. Yam instructs the saint to lead the way while he gathers the children. Later, the saint breaks the terrible news to the orphanage owner, Guilford. Guilford nods in understanding, but the grim reality quickly sinks in. Learning that the girl delivered Leto's warning, he whispers that it is too late. Not long after, Yam arrives at the orphanage looking for Leto. He eventually finds his friend collapsed on the floor, bleeding out. Leto weakly hands over a hidden ledger, urging Yam to inspect it. Inside, Yam discovers massive financial errors covered up by someone named Mitem. Leto warns him that this orphanage is harboring some incredibly dark secrets. He points directly to Director Guilford as the mastermind behind it all. Meanwhile, the suspicious saint begins to question the director's shaky story. He claims it is too late to save Leto or run, revealing himself as the magic beast hidden behind this mess. Outside, the squad faces a horde of monsters. While Urine directs the children to safety, Elsie, however, struggles to lead the group of refugees getting attacked in the process. Thankfully, Dolurum arrives just in time to save her, warning her not to stall the evacuation. The other girls also offer their help, so Urine decides he and Dolurum will handle the rear guard. Back with the Saint, she finally realizes Guilford was the mastermind behind the story. The entire time, the old villain explains he also grew up in an orphanage, learning swordsmanship from the former director, realizing he was just another desperate kid fighting for food. That was when he received a dark visit and took the place of the former administrator, officially joining the dark cult and accepting the deal to surrender one child every month for heavy gold. He claims this sacrifice saves countless others, arguing that nobles would never understand the reality orphans live in. The director decides to give the Saint a chance, drawing a massive pentagram on the dusty floor. He asks for a drop of blood inside the circle for her. Promise to never speak of this. The Saint realizes she is facing a very well-disguised cultist. She rejects his deal, wondering if Yam knew about this and chose to hide it. Rejecting her defiance, Guilford throws her directly into the circle, claiming it is for her own sake. Before he can act, an axe is hurled. The old man dodges, but a second weapon quickly strikes his arm. Yam steps forward, coldly ordering Guilford to back away. The Saint gets up, thanking him for the help, and is told to go rescue Leto, leaving the old man's fate to our young hero. She warns that facing this enemy is dangerous alone, but Yam insists that Leto does not have much time left. Guilford lunges to stop her escape, but Yam warns his opponent never to look away, allowing the girl to leave as she promises to save their friend and cheers for the young hero. The old man claims again that he only saved the children, but Yam tells him to shut it. Trust me, their talking is officially over. Guilford notices that Yam is much stronger since they last sparred, but claims it still won't be enough. The director strikes with immense fury, but Yam fights back, their massive clash completely shattering the stone walls around them. When Guilford mockingly calls him weak, Yam counters, calling the old man incredibly slow. The young warrior manages to lock the old man's blade with his axe. Then, Yam draws the mighty Holy Lion sword, unleashing a precise slash and declaring the battle is finished. Refusing to lose, Guilford fully unleashes his beast form and swears he won't be defeated so easily. Meanwhile, the Saint finally reaches Leto and treats his wounds, telling him not to worry because she promised her dying friend she would help. Back at the duel, Guilford boasts that sacrificing something precious brings absolute power from the dark god Ameros in exchange. He reveals that on the night his old comrades fell, he found a vampire and made a contract, trading his friends for that power. Guilford boasts that he is far more powerful now, warning Yam that he is about to feel that immense strength. Yam barely dodges the strike but still gets cut, and yeah, those claws are no joke. He cannot afford to get hit again. Next, Guilford mockingly reminds our young hero that he taught him to keep his eyes focused until the very end. Guilford warns him not to look away for even a single second. Reacting fast, Yam backs off and hurls his axe straight at his enemy. It is a clean hit, but Guilford does not even try to dodge. Yam realizes defeating someone with this kind of defense will be easy, especially since his regeneration speed is insanely fast. Then, without warning, Guilford lands a brutal kick on Yam, sending him crashing completely through the wall to the outside of the orphanage grounds. However, the old enemy tosses a sword to the boy, demanding he get back up because this is far from over. Yam recovers, warning he has no intention of running away. Internally, he knows the demonic aura is a massive problem, since Guilford uses illusions to hide his movements and moves with blinding speed. Guilford boasts that unlike Yam, he reads every move and lands another heavy strike. The old man sneers that Yam should have relied on his raw senses instead of being fooled by illusions, warning that there are no second chances. But Yam slowly struggles back to his feet and growls that this is not the end. Guilford demands to know how he is still standing. It turns out Yam secretly used a recovery potion, telling his foe that he only delayed his ultimate defeat, daring his opponent to use his full demonic strength. The enemy attacks forward again, but the protagonist holds up Lin's hair tie, hoping to distract him. The old man recognizes it instantly and hesitates. The desperate gamble actually works. Yam dodges the strike and hits Guilford from behind. However, the young boy gets exhausted as the healing potion's power begins to fade. Guilford mutters that he taught the boy well, admitting Yam mastered the technique, but Yam replies he only pulled it off because his master hesitated for a brief split second. The dying old man admits his own weakness caused his downfall, warning that after his death, the flesh tree will completely lose control, and trust me, nobody will be able to stop it. The protagonist vows he will never surrender or let a demon win. With those final words, Guilford finally dies. Yam immediately worries for his friends nearby. Following Guilford's defeat, the demon monkeys suddenly begin to scatter. Selene asks what on earth caused them to run off so suddenly. The saint explains that the dark power controlling them has vanished, meaning Yam successfully defeated the demon. Elsie wonders how a mere academy student managed to win this fight entirely alone, but Delirum shrugs it off because they still won. Just then Yam slowly approaches and warns that the situation is far from over. Selene asks what he means, so Yam points toward the deep forest, warning them of a nightmare where the giant flesh tree is already bearing fruit. As long as that horror stands, they cannot claim victory. Elsie asks how they are supposed to destroy those monstrous things, but Delirum suggests they do not need to fight and should just retreat, but Yam replies they will not leave without the children and warns that the nest could rapidly grow and spread, but the saint points out Yam is in no condition to keep going after surviving such a brutal clash, reminding everyone is spent, suggesting they retreat, but Yam insists that destroying the monster is their absolute only choice because running away will only bring an even more devastating future. He is fully prepared to push forward entirely alone. The saint observes that Yam keeps changing his behavior from calculating coldness to sheer recklessness, asking what the boy is actually planning. The young man fires back that he understands the risks, but he will never abandon the kids. Realizing she cannot change his mind, the saint turns to the group. She gathers them close and casts a powerful buffing spell over the entire team. Immediately, the girls feel their wounds healing as raw energy surges through them. Seeing this, the protagonist stares at the saint, but she quickly reminds him of their promise to keep her power a secret. Slipping Yam a special pill, she tells him to stay alive to return it, warning that she is taking urine to bring back backup. Young man smiles, realizing that deep down she really does not want to lose him. After that, Leto tells Yam to lure the battle away from the orphanage while he stays behind to get the kids out. Meanwhile, Selene steps up, clearly anxious about something. Yam warns her that she does not have to fight if she is too scared, reminding her that this is a true life or death struggle requiring absolute focus from everyone. Once Selene steals her resolve, the entire team charges toward the massive tree and Yam orders the strike. Meanwhile, Leto tries to evacuate the terrified kids, but they refuse to budge, crying out for their director, forcing Leto to lie that the man is fighting outside to save them. The trick works out on the battlefield. The group fights like absolute beasts, and Elsie lets loose a devastating blast, vaporizing several flesh beasts, though some still survive. Yam keeps pushing forward, but notices that Selene is quickly getting overwhelmed by the endless horde. Elsie tries to back her up with magic, but completely freezes upon seeing the sheer number of monsters closing in. Sensing their terror, Yam hurls his giant axe, rushing over to tell them he understands their fear but begs them to hold the line. Suddenly, Yam spots the tree, spitting out endless monsters, realizing there are far more beasts than missing children. Thinking fast, he commands Selene and Elsie to watch each other's backs. Then Yam charges, telling Delira not to attack the beast head-on, an order she follows despite her confusion. The protagonist swings his mighty axe, but the monster keeps moving even while engulfed in flames. It is not going down easily. Suddenly, the enemy unleashes a horrific toxic rain, screaming that it cannot be defeated. Delira realizes the tree can actually speak, but she and Yam keep pressing their attack. Moments later, Delira points out that the monster has run out of seeds to spit. Delira is suddenly ambushed, but a magic blast from Elsie, who was providing backup from the rear, saves her. Yam tells Delira to step back and charges forward, but his giant axe is violently deflected. The beast roars that it will never lose, throwing Yam back before trying to flee. He scrambles to pursue it, but a stray root snatches him by the leg from afar. Delira fires a shot to free him, warning him to keep his guard up. Next, the Protagonist activates absolute rupture, but even his ultimate strike cannot. Pierce the thick flesh tree, he takes another hit, realizing this legendary monster is the real deal. Screaming that it needs more seeds, the beast targets the fleeing children. Yam screams for his allies to protect the little ones, while desperately throwing himself in front of the beast. Suddenly, the smaller monsters ignore the fighters entirely, charging straight toward the kids. To stop them, Elsie unleashes a massive spell while Yordina strikes hand to hand. Lee shouts that they are almost safe, urging the group to hold out. Yordina tells Leto to focus on the evacuation, then rushes to tell Yam that the children managed to escape. Hearing this news, Yam urgently tells Celia to run with the others. He decides to stay behind to finish off the enemy once and for all. Having formulated a final desperate plan, Yam realizes his body is already completely exhausted. The saint's blessing has faded, and normal attacks are doing absolutely nothing. Yam realizes his only remaining hope is using the fire magic in Leto's scroll. The monster attacks, but Yam pushes his broken body to dodge the deadly strike. He frantically searches for the perfect spot to plant the scroll, but he ends up taking a devastating hit. Pain flares through his body, but he forces himself onward. His enemy boasts that no one can defeat him, but Yam has a secret weapon. The beast is about to learn what a dust explosion is, and things are getting crazy. If he has to burn down with this monster, so be it. He activates the scroll, causing a massive, fiery detonation. Distant Leto immediately understands the blast and grows deeply worried, while the others fear Yam has blown himself to pieces. Celine immediately runs back to search, eventually finding her friend collapsed on the ground. Yam weakly murmurs that he won, but Celine tells him to save his strength because she is going to get help. As he fades out, Yam remembers a sweet memory of tying Lin's hair for the very first time, and how she softly thanked him. Some time later, Yam wakes up in confusion. He asks where he is, and Leto explains they are in a temple. The saint healed his wounds, but Yam remembers nothing after the fiery blast. Leto chuckles, admitting he would love to know how they survived, pointing out that his friend barely made it out alive and must thank the saint. Leto then explains that the Guilford orphanage was thoroughly investigated, putting the Holy Kingdom on high alert after the terrifying demon attack. Fortunately, the children were safely relocated, but Yam is now a major celebrity for leading the defense and killing the beast, drawing royal interest. The Imperial Knights are watching him. Yam hates having so much attention, but he knows it aligns with his memories of the future. His ties to the royalty are inevitable. Leto adds they will all receive a massive reward, though the knights ordered complete silence about the demon to prevent public panic. The true culprit behind everything has not been found, so Yam points out that Mitram must be responsible. Lee agrees, noting that name was hidden in the ledgers and likely belongs to a dark cult priest. They have stepped into some serious trouble. Still, Yam is content with the outcome and hopes to avoid future danger. Meanwhile, in a distant place, a girl reads reports about the hero who slew the beast, asking the elite knight Island for her thoughts. The warrior dismisses the tale as hype, born from a public desperate for heroes. The girl resolves to uncover the truth herself, revealing that she is Shen, the fifth princess of the empire. She plans to meet Yam very soon. Later, Yam has another premonition, holding hands with a girl in a bloody wasteland. She warns that his unique eyes attracted a horrifying monster. Yam answers that they cannot survive much longer if that beast is free. Unleashed, the mysterious young woman confirms they cannot hope to hold out any longer, pleading with him to make a choice, and right after that, the Yam wakes up, suddenly realizing his dream was completely different. Then he spots another letter sitting near his desk. A pounding headache strikes as he reads it and realizes things are far worse. He knows this won't be some simple glitch, and he has absolutely no clue how to fix it. Suddenly, Yam spots a note slipped under the door that bursts into hot fire when opened. The burning embers shape words warning that whoever dared strike the royal imperial family will pay the ultimate price. Later, while walking through the academy grounds, Yam remembers meeting Celine, Celia, and Elsie on his discharge day, drinking alone right after that until he finally blacked out in his room. He figures his future self took over his body right then and realized messing with the royal family was an insane move, wondering what crazy stunt he pulled. Right then a classmate named Teen stomps over, demanding how Yam dares show his face. There, recognizing the kid, Yam instantly trashes Teen's friends and drags Teen away, warning that he expects quick, honest answers to his extremely polite questions. The boy snaps back angrily, so Yam physically pressures him, demanding to know exactly what went down over the last few days. A sudden flashback reveals that the future Yam was confronted by Princess Shen. Keeping it strictly formal, he questioned her reasons for speaking with him. Shen got straight to the point, asking him to join her faction for any wish he wanted, plus a fast track into the prestigious imperial knighthood. The princess explained she would make him the rightful heir, giving him the Perkis territory and the ultimate title of family head, provided he knelt and swore absolute loyalty. But Yam just smirked, saying he had a better idea, then splashed water on her face to cool her down. Her bodyguard attacked him immediately, but Yam easily defended himself, preparing to slam Island face first into the dirt, openly mocking her combat skills. Shen watches her elite royal guard get utterly crushed. Yam laughs, stating that the royal protection is absolute garbage, stating she would be dead if that water was poison. Then he mocks the rest, noting only one guard stepped up while the others stood there frozen, asking if they are actual elites or just overpaid, useless bums. A few moments later, Yam completely obliterates every single guard, casually telling the fuming princess she desperately needs to hire some actual, competent protection instead. Shen offers him one final shot at survival, promising to forget everything if he just drops to his knees. Naturally, the stubborn main character outright refuses her. Enraged, she screams that nobody insults the royal family and walks away untouched, swearing she will use every ounce of her power to crush him and his entire household. Yam just laughs, mocking her weak eyesight and claiming he never fears empty threats since none of this will matter in his future. The princess vows that from this very moment, everything he holds dear will be destroyed within 3 months. Thinking that deadline is way too long, Yam grabs the thrown axe from the guard, daring Shen to pull off her revenge. In just one single month, she warns him of deep regret, but the smug boy replies that either way, he won't be around to suffer those consequences. Fast forward to the present, Yam realizes his future ego went way too far. Hearing the insane story, Teen declares that Yam is totally dead meat, but Yam quietly knocks Teen out cold, desperately racking his brain for a way out. Meanwhile, Leto approaches, joking that soaking the princess is the new trend. It all started with Yam. Later, Leto offers some pretty serious advice. He warns his friend not to fall for any cheap bait. Yam wants to act. Leto, however, points out a terrifying pattern. The future version gets more aggressive every single time he appears. But Leto knows his friend. He wouldn't do this without a solid reason. This whole mess just prep work for something massive. Yam agrees he never would have joined the festival otherwise. Getting involved with Syria changed everything. Now, Leto urges him to investigate. He has to uncover the truth by following his future self's trail. Leto already spoke with and learned the future Yam actually visited the Saintess. But right before Yam can leave, Leto's sister sends a warning. Her letter is brief. The princess is already making her move. He has no idea what she's planning. Soon after, Yam departs. Yam arrives to speak with the Saintess, finding her deep in prayer for him. She asks how he slipped in, and Yam says let him pass. When she asks why he's here, Yam explains his real goal. He needs to know what went down during his last temple visit. The Saintess immediately scolds him for starting a fight with the princess. He wanted to stay quiet, but Yam claims someone possessed him. She rejects his excuses. He almost died at that orphanage. Getting into more trouble now is just asking for a death sentence. Her magic crystals are limited. She cannot keep reviving him forever. Yam realizes she spent almost all her resources to save him. But he insists he must follow his own path to fulfill his destiny. After promising to stay safe, he asks again about that last visit. She doubts his memory loss, but admits nothing too crazy happened. Back then, he only requested something to purify curses and dark magic. She handed him a flask of holy water, and he left. Hearing this, Yam asks how someone actually uses that holy water. She wonders why he took an item he had no clue how to use. Still, she explains it heals minor wounds and cleanses dark curses. A temple is always better, but it works in a pinch. Wait, so Yam realized his future self splashed holy water on her. He wonders why his future self hid this whole truth from Shen. Things are getting worse. The Saintess then mentions his dragon blood runes. This imperial magic essentially makes him completely untouchable to others. But since he must show the runes to prove it, he probably hid them. Annoyed, she notes he blew up a whole building with a monster inside. There is absolutely no reason to chicken out before some spoiled royal girl. Yam argues it is complicated, but she insists the solution is simple. Just show the runes, but Yam admits he has no idea how. This drives her furious since he used them against her without hesitating. He apologizes, explaining that it was not actually him that time. He mutters another quick apology and leaves before things get any worse. To make things worse, the Saintess complains that Yam only shows up when he needs something. She laments that he is never around when she actually wants him, but quickly stops herself. She kicks him out, leaving Yam to organize the new information he just gathered. He tries to figure out why his future self kept his identity a secret from Shen. Right then, he spots Emma cornered in the street, desperately trying to get away. She begs the arrogant noble to let her go, but he ruthlessly slaps her across the face. He does not care. Tumbling to the ground, Emma spots Yam approaching. The attacker sneers, asking where she is looking, but Yam answers with a flying axe. It hits hard, ensuring the arrogant thug will never hurt anyone again. The shocked noble screams, warning Yam that attacking high society over a commoner is a crime. Yam glares with pure coldness, his response sharp and unforgiving. He says he is crazy enough to challenge a princess, so a mere noble is nothing. He does not care about the fallout and will use this fool to set an example. This is what happens to anyone who dares touch his friends. Later, Delpher arrives. Looking at the mess, she remarks that he went a little too far this time. Yam asks her to deal with the aftermath and protect Emma at all costs. That is easy enough for Delpher, but she warns him that the princess is furious. She ordered the 5 noble families to blockade his family territory. Yam realizes this explains his sister's urgent letter and asks what her family will do. Delpher explains that the Yordina family is working behind the scenes to stall them. It is only a temporary fix, but Yam says that gives him enough time to act. While she buys him some breathing room, he starts working on a solution. He targets the university newspaper first, as their trash articles are fueling the fire. Delpher agrees and leaks some highly classified information about the journalism club. Turns out the entire club is filled with actual traitors working for the enemy. Knowing why they are so aggressive, Yam moves fast, telling Emma not to worry. He tells her to stay focused on her miracle potions while he handles the rest. Yam marches right into the journalism club, instantly annoying the members by barging in. He boldly declares that this massive building is just a giant cover story. It is actually the Academy branch of the Empire's secret intelligence division. They attack him on the spot, but Yam effortlessly blocks every single blow. He tells them to drop the act and demands to see their president. He wants their leader. He did not come to play with small fry. One of the agents tries to step up, only to get instantly crushed. The rest of the group is warned that Yam single-handedly defeated 4 royal guards. They cannot underestimate him. Meanwhile, Yam is battling his own demons. Seeing Emma get slapped triggered a dark memory of a woman burning in a ritual. That memory fuels a blinding rage, and he completely loses control. That same dark rage is taking over right now as they rush him. Yam holds nothing back, cold-heartedly warning them that they are wasting their time. He will not show mercy just because they are trained Imperial intelligence agents. He charges into the fray like a man battling a wild dragon. He grabs one by the throat as the boy stammers about their powerful faction. Just then, another agent lunges from the shadows for a dirty sneak attack. Yam simply swings his captive like a club, slamming them both down. Who started this fight? The boy with glasses sneers that turning your back on an enemy is stupid. Yam laughs, calling it typical of Empire spies to strike when they have 0 chance of winning, declaring he'll do the country a massive favor by wiping them out. After thrashing the entire main hall, Yam suddenly feels a strange sensation, realizing that the dagger that cut him was deeply poisoned, leaving him with almost no time to act. He heads straight to the boss's office and finds Nuri, the prom queen. She mockingly welcomes the prince. Of the axe sarcastically asking if he is feeling all right, Yam immediately notes how overly familiar she is for a complete stranger, warning her never to lay a finger on him or his allies again. Hearing this threat, the girl just Laughs and Yam senses her wild confidence despite being in such a dangerous position. Instantly, several sharp daggers fly straight at him. He tries to dodge but doesn't escape untouched. Realizing the poison has already slowed down his reflexes, Nuri steps up and mockingly comments on his sudden fear of simple knives. Next, the infuriated protagonist hurls a massive table at her. She blocks it easily, warning him that moving around will only make the poison spread much faster. Noticing Nuri's insane speed, Yam decides to unleash everything. He manages to strike her, but realizes he will soon be unable to fight. Nuri mutters that she has not fought seriously in ages, deciding to end this battle right now. Yam notices her pulling out a spatial expansion bag and asks why she uses such an incredibly expensive item, to which she boasts that belonging to the imperial family definitely has its grand perks. Knife almost grazes Yam. He barely dodges, feeling his movements lag heavily. Nuri keeps getting faster. Soon, she easily pins him to the ground, quite impressed by his incredible endurance. Nuri admits she loves using poison on proud nobles, since she's just a commoner recruited by intelligence. She forcefully demands to know how he uncovered the truth about the journalism club. The protagonist blackouts, sliding into another heavy vision where he meets the Emperor for a highly private conversation. The Emperor questions Yam about the brutal war. The legendary warrior explains that though there were once 6 great generals defending the empire, they were completely wiped out, leaving enemies swarming the Great Wall. Yet he vows never to stop fighting while he still draws breath. The Emperor asks if human history is destined to perish, calling Yam humanity's last master and his most loyal protector. To ensure victory, he grants Yam the sacred dragon blood runes. Yam protests that these can only be inherited by the true heir of the empire, but the Emperor counters that old traditions mean nothing at the world's end, urging the warrior to save their species. After that vision, the protagonist jolts awake. Nuri, who was busy trying to interrogate him, suddenly realizes she was talking to herself, the heavy dagger pinning Yam down has fully melted, and he is already standing, ready to strike. Yam asks if he should call her Nuri or Findelston. The girl gasps, asking how he knows the identity she abandoned so long ago. Yam tells her that she has spoken far too much already. Activating his glowing dragon mark, he reveals himself as the Emperor's hand. A sudden explosion erupts, and the arrogant girl gets blown backwards. The protagonist slowly stands up as Nuri demands to know where he came from. Yam coldly replies that he owes her absolutely no explanation, warning he repeats his demands, ordering her to pay extremely close attention to what comes next. No questioning him aloud. Sometime later, Yam reads a local newspaper article. Is this the retraction? Nuri quickly explains the real play here. They must terrify their enemies first, before trying to clean up his messy public image. Yam dislikes this approach, but instructs his subordinate to keep pushing forward. He quietly notes that 4 entire days have already flown by since they first teamed up. He forced Nuri to use the journalism club to his absolute advantage. He also ordered her to investigate cryptic keywords from a hidden letter. The clues mentioned a procession, a dark cave, and a dragon's eye, but she had little time. Nuri warns those terms are far too common to find anything concrete. However, she discovered the procession relates to the upcoming Welcoming Festival. The festival is starting soon, and get this, Yam actually plans to attack. The event features a massive march at the end of each academy semester. Both students and teachers participate. Yam knows they cannot ignore this opportunity. When asked about the cave, Nuri admits she only found tiny holes around the outer city. They are too small for a human. She apologizes and begs for more time. Yam grants her request, but demands a much more thorough investigation. Check every single crevice, big, medium, or small, report everything suspicious. Next, he demands to know what she has actually uncovered regarding the mysterious dragon's eye. Before Nuri can answer, she suddenly senses someone lurking nearby. It is Princess Shen and her bodyguard. Shen arrives and asks what Yam is doing. Why hang out in the forest? The princess feels silently mocked by her siblings. They tease her constantly, claiming she completely lacks the natural charisma to choose good company. She wonders how an elite like Eileen lost so easily to a mere student. Shen knows for a fact that Yam made an alliance with the Academy's intelligence team. She asks if he has connections to the royal family. Eileen suggests Yam simply took control of the journalism club by force. The princess shivers. Could one student really overpower the whole unit? Suddenly, Princess Shen hears a suspicious rustle and spots a dark silhouette apologizing just ahead. She realizes Nuri is pinned to the ground, whimpering in pain. It looks like Yam is brutally punishing the girl for failing to obey his orders. A quick flashback reveals Nuri had urged him to flee. Yam knows Nuri must obey him because of his dragon blood. But showing his rune to the princess would be a terrible mistake. That mark actually belongs to his future self, and the current emperor would definitely deny it. Talk about quick thinking. He immediately pivots and pretends to brutally attack her. He hopes the princess buys the act. Nuri plays her part beautifully. Her training makes the struggle look entirely real. Yam barks a harsh command, ordering her to leave immediately. She must obey without question. He then turns his cold gaze to Shen. He demands to know why she followed him, but Princess Shen maintains her supreme confidence. She claims his bold attitude toward Nuri proves he has powerful royal backing. Yam fires back, calling her wild assumption completely and utterly ridiculous. He insists that he was simply asking the poor girl for a quick favor. Yet Shen sneers, claiming he acts like he owns the entire academy. Would he really sell out his sister in exchange for status in the empire, instantly? Yam lunges toward the princess so fast that her bodyguard cannot even react in time, and he launches a fake attack. He warns that Princess Shen is way too overconfident, failing to even consider that she could get eliminated. This unforgiving forest, he even mocks the bodyguard's pathetic state before, promising he won't use his axe against her unless she forces his hand. Later on, Yam visits the saintess and mentions he will head to his hometown once the festival ends, asking if she has any new leads about the case or if she simply invited him on a date. Instead, the saintess warns him that disciplinary committee is being formed because of those high-end mighty nobles he beat up. Yam mentions he put Delphi in charge of that, but the saintess reveals that Princess Shen visited the injured nobles in the hospital, ordering them to tell the committee the whole truth, which could easily get him expelled. She asks him to stay calm and avoid making waves, as she has already treated too many badly beaten students lately, but Yam insists he is not the one to blame, which prompts the saintess to ask who is actually responsible for attacking those students. Meanwhile, on campus, Celia Yordina brutally attacks a student, declaring she won't tolerate anyone badmouthing Yam in her presence, warning that anyone trying to hurt him will have to face her first. She even plans to use self-defense as an excuse if anyone dares to report her. Right after, Yordina runs into Celine, who notes how surprisingly similar they are, both being completely isolated with no real allies nearby. Yam suddenly appears, offering a sincere apology for making their lives so incredibly difficult lately. The girls assure him they are fine, though they know deep down that is a lie, and Celine adds that Yam always has good reasons for what he does. Yam deeply thanks them for their unwavering trust, promising everything will end very soon, but explains he still needs more information. Next, he goes to find Delurum, who is currently bickering with Elsie. Yam quickly stops their fight and asks what Delurum managed to dig up. She reveals she found a secret passage built with ancient magic centuries ago, serving as a private escape route for the royal family between the academy grounds and the city outskirts. Yam says this is exactly what he needed, and Elsie quickly chips in with intel about the magic beast from the Hunt Festival, whose mysterious case was closed with the cause of death listed as